Hello. Hello, mic check. Am I audible?
Yes, good evening, class. So, what have we been discussing in the previous class? What topics did we take up in the previous class? Consequences of ethics. We said that it promotes human and social well being. We said that it helps us in living a good moral life, within inverted commas, a good life. What is a good life? A life which will live as per our principles, where we find meaning, where we find fulfillment. We also said that it is good for society because it helps us see the viewpoint of other people. When we see the viewpoint of other people, then we become more tolerant to their cause. It also helps us resolve conflicts. We also said that ethics is good for business because it helps, ethical conduct helps in building trust, isn't it? And therefore, it promotes brand retention, it increases brand value, it also increases brand loyalty, and therefore, and it is good for the financial or commercial viability of an organization. We also said that when there is ethical conduct in an organization, then it is able to attract and retain better talent. When an organization is known to act ethically, है ना, when an organization is known to act ethically, it is able to negotiate better terms with both its employees as well as all other stakeholders. Think of example Tata's. So whether they are negotiating with employee, they'll be able to get better terms even when they're dealing with any other stakeholder, such as a bank. Will they be able to get a better term? Yes, because they inspire trust, isn't it? So we discussed all this. We were also doing, you, huh? We did this. Then what else? We have done, huh? Limitations of ethics. We also said that ethics does not provide always one answer, one final answer. It may not provide, it may sometimes not provide one simple answer. There is inherent subjectivity in the answers. Sometimes the answers that ethics provides may not match with practical realities. Sometimes the answers that ethics provides may not be implementable because there could be difference between taught values or prescribed values, norms, and what are practiced, isn't it? And then we also said that we should still study ethics for the simple reason that when faced with her, just like, can we be ethical without studying ethics? Yes. Before the introduction of ethics paper, civil servants, aspirants were not studying ethics, and yet it was expected that they'll engage in ethical conduct. So just like some of you can speak any language without knowing the rules of grammar, similarly, you can be ethical without having studied ethics, but when there's a doubt, when there's a dilemma, then just like in language, you refer to the rules of grammar, similarly in ethics, you refer to the discipline of ethics, and it helps you resolve the dilemmas. You have any question? Anybody has any question? Now, we had also touched upon ethics versus morality, right? I think I already asked you to make a table. PPT is also there? Okay. Now, ethics versus morality, we said that, we had discussed this, that ethics is what is called when individual morality accepted by larger groups and society at large, then it becomes ethics. Morality is the individual notion of right and wrong. It may happen for several times that individual sense of right and wrong may conflict with what is socially acceptable, what is socially tenable. And all of human progress has been based on positive conflicts between ethics and morality. So let us just discuss what happens when there is, what is the nature of relationship. ये दूसरा वाला पेन नहीं है, दूसरा पेन, हाँ. Nature of relationship between ethics and morality. So here what may happen is, if you see ethics and morality, the first thing is that ethics and morality may go hand in hand, which means what is ethical for the society is also moral for the individual. It may go hand in hand. Yes, thank you. What is ethical for the society is also moral for the individual, isn't it? No, one of those cases can be that they may go hand in hand. isn't it? A second alternative yet can be that they may conflict with each other. These are the two things that can happen, isn't it? So let us say what you feel on a very simple issue such as feeding stray dogs. What your whole area where you live, they feel that stray dogs should be fed, there should be a place, and you also feel the same. Then everything is good. That means what is societal ethics is conforming to individual morality. Then what is the benefit of it? Yes, its benefit is that it is both good for the individual. Why it is good for the individual? Because there is peace, inner peace, there is harmony, both in individual plus society, isn't it? There is good emotional plus mental well-being. Isn't it? Emotional and mental well-being. To appreciate this better, think of it. You live in a place where people feed stray dogs and you are the one who does not like dogs or is afraid of dogs. Now, will you have any of this every time you come out and somebody is, then you have a problem. There is no harmony in the society as well as within you in the mahalla, right? Emotional and mental well-being will definitely take a toll. You can see how aggressive people are when they are discussing any contentious issue as such, isn't it? But whenever something like this happens, when societal morality, societal ethics and individual morality, they go hand in hand. It also has certain negative consequences. It also has certain negative consequences. है ना? When this go hand in hand, then there what is called, we say that it creates a culture of conformity. Means whatever is being said, you just follow it without asking questions. So therefore, it suppresses spirit of inquiry. It suppresses spirit of inquiry. There is what is called lack of critical thinking. Lack of. Is my handwriting legible? Or needs improvement? Very good. Teacher वहीं बैठे हैं सारे. Right. There is lack of critical thinking. There is the problem of groupthink. What is the groupthink? Which means the whole group is thinking they are all wrong and they think that हम सारे सही जा रहे हैं. For a large part of our post-independence history, Eastern India, which remained most backward, right from Purvanchal. So Uttar Pradesh has one, Lucknow, and the other is Allahabad. So eastward, as you move from Allahabad, there is a sense of inherent pride that we are the best, because there was not much internet. So there was this feeling that we are having rich culture. All these, a lot of things were there. It was not until the last decade and propelled by the 2020 COVID, when for the very first time news would cover that lot of migrant laborers from Eastern India simply had to walk down from Delhi to Eastern India, right from UP, Eastern UP, Bihar, and they had to walk down without getting any support from their state or even from people, established people of their state. That this was came to light that these states are backward for the people living themselves. Otherwise, most people living in that area always felt that so yes, we are doing fine. They fail to realize that it is only now that there is a realization dawning that the state remains backward on social and economic parameters. All right. So there is problem of groupthink. There is what is called the problem, because if you have a problem of groupthink, you will have what is social stagnation. Society will stagnate. There will be lack of new ideas. There will be lack of new ideas, lack of innovation. There will be lack of new ideas, lack of innovation. The scientific spirit will be missing in such areas. Scientific spirit will be missing. when they conflict with each other. When they conflict with each other, it will have certain challenges or negative consequences. It will have its own challenges. It will lead to what is called moral distress. You will try to figure out whether either I am wrong or they are wrong. The so moral distress which people like Raja Ram Mohan Roy would have. You know, or Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar would have. When they would walk down the streets of India, people would spit over them. Right? People thukte the unke upar because they felt amiss that either I am wrong or they are wrong. The society is wrong because Raja Ram Mohan Roy championed the cause of Sati Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, widow remarriage. So when he married a widow, so he was boycotted from the society. And don't think that they must definitely have conviction in what they were doing, but they must be, when this conflict happens, there will always be moral distress, there will always be dissonance. Dissonance is something like the state of confusion where there is a difference in what is your established belief versus what exists in the society. Established belief versus what you see. Think of it like that you have been raised in a patriarchal setup in Haryana where you have told that all the men are superior to women, and then you come to get a job and you have your boss is a woman. Now it is difficult for you to accept and work under her, and it is a real challenge both for men as well as sometimes the women bosses. Women IPS officers, sometimes they have a big problem. They say कि हमारी कोई नहीं सुनता है because they are men. It's not about me being an IPS and they being just a sub-inspector or a constable. It's just that this thing that they don't listen is coming not from my position. I'm in a very high position, but this thing is coming from their social bringing. That they feel shy to accept orders from a woman, sometimes, which is why they have never called anyone a madam, so therefore they will always call madam sir, as Kiran Bedi was also called, right? So there will be a dissonance. A person coming from such setups, when he comes to the city, works under a woman boss, he will have dissonance, right? Why? Because he has been given to certain entitlements as a man in the family, where when a meal is freshly made, then the first goes to the male child, father, and then the male child. If expensive protein dishes are made, such as consumption of meat, then it will be for the male child, and the bacha kucha will be for the women in the family, such as the. So women will always have to make the sacrifice. Sometimes ki bade bhai ke liye chhod do, या sometimes for छोटे भाई के लिए छोड़ दो, right? Those are implicit forms of patriarchy, right? It's not बड़े के लिए छोड़ दो, then there is no patriarchy, but then बड़े के लिए भी छोड़ दो और छोटे के लिए, और किसके लिए? कभी ये नहीं कि बड़ी बहन के लिए छोड़ दो, भाई के लिए छोड़ दो, right? So there is also state of what is called, sometimes there is a state of disillusionment, which you can broadly understand as some sort of moh bhang. You have been living in North India, and therefore you believe that, for example, Hindus in North India, do not consume meat of certain animals, and then you go to Kerala, where you see that certain meat is consumed. Now imagine you believe that it is morally wrong for anyone to consume a certain kind of meat, and then you do go Kerala where it is widely practiced. See, you will be disillusioned with your own religion itself. Or you go to Northeast where different eating habits and cultures will be there. So this is what I mean by disillusionment. समझ नहीं आएगा क्या करें, right? So state of confusion and disillusionment will be there. Its outcome could be unrest and disharmony in society. Its outcome will be unrest plus disharmony in society. When the individual is in distress, will he let the society be without stress? In both individual and society. अगर व्यक्ति परेशान है तो समाज को बहुत लंबे समय तक शांति से रहने नहीं देगा, राइट, है ना? And this often leads to, its outcome is they question authority. There'll be questioning of authority. There could be civil unrest. Questioning of authority. There could be civil unrest. What could be the benefits of such conflict between societal ethics and morality? Yes. Positives, if you see. What could be the possible positives of such society? It encourages debate and discussion. The government said farm loans may not be waived off, but then Nirav Modi may stay, or Vijay Mallya's money will not be recovered. Don't you see people are going to be unhappy about it? Right? So therefore, in such case, what will happen? It will lead to debate and discussion in the society, isn't it? Its benefit is that it promotes conflicts. They promote pursuit of truth. It promotes pursuit of truth, है ना? Or you can say new ideas, which leads to the birth of new ideas, isn't it? It will promote critical thinking. Thomas Paine, have you heard of him? In world history, you must have read. What did he do? He did not write an entire book, he just wrote a small essay. And there he said that we are North America. We are a whole continent here. And then there is an island which calls itself United Kingdom, Great Britain. And they are ruling an entire continent. Is it legitimate for an island the size है ना of United Kingdom to rule an entire continent? अब ये बात किसी को बरगला दोगे, then will they accept rule from such a small island nation? They will not. Just one revolutionary idea has to be brought in, isn't it? A revolution will happen which will promote something like the, है ना? So it will promote American Revolution, right? So it promotes critical thinking. It promotes spirit of inquiry, and it leads to social change. It leads to social change. It leads to social change. It makes social reform possible. Isn't it? It makes social reform possible. Why? Because one individual feels that what is happening in the society is wrong. There's a conflict. He will start his discovery of truth. Mahatma Gandhi would go on to write an entire book on my experiments with truth. कि सत्य क्या है? Do the British white people who may appear a little civilized say that we have a civilizing role in Asia and Africa, and to some extent, if you saw the conditions, you would agree to some extent. When you see the condition of the black people, and so they went. So therefore, it was not that these leaders who were there in the freedom struggle, they were very confident that what we needed was an un-British rule in India. They believed in the British goodness, and there were also equal number of people here during our pre-independence phase where they were worried that if the British leave the country will not be in a better shape. There were these doubts. In such case, what will a person do? Will he not engage himself in the pursuit of truth? कि सच क्या है, क्या सच में ऐसा है? These feelings would be there. You must have read in your spectrum or whatever, wherever you have read that early moderates, they actually felt that British rule was good for India until Dadabhai Naoroji gave the seminal work. What was the seminal work? Yes, the drain of wealth theory. What was the name of the book? Poverty and un-British rule in India, because everyone believed in the British goodness. Why did they believe in the British goodness? What did the British offer which we had never seen before? One line. Very good. That's the correct. Who said that? एक chocolate मिलेगा तुमको. ठीक है? Yes, rule of law. For the first time, they were able to see a system where law was supreme and everyone, including the viceroys and the governor generals, would be bound. Otherwise, in a monarchical system, राजा ने आज ये कहा, शाम तक मूड बदल गया तो, है ना, किसी को कह दिया फांसी में डाल देना कल सुबह, शाम तक का हल्का फुल्का पी लिया, अब कहा कि इसको 100 असरफियां देकर घर छोड़ दो. Now you have rule of law, which means everybody is bound by it, isn't it? So the British, when they offered rule of law to any place, most population would accept it, because now they would not have something more exploitative. What is more exploitative than rule of law? Rule of men. Rule of men, more exploitative, isn't it? So these are the benefits in this, है ना? So final conclusion, what will be your final conclusion? You can say finally that, है ना, conflict between ethics and morality is natural. Conflict between ethics and natural, है ना, and a positive tension is necessary for what? Necessary for social progress, scientific development, social progress, scientific development, social, religious, cultural reforms, and betterment of mankind. Social progress, scientific development, it is also better for, it is also important for moral development of the society. It is also important for moral development of the society. So Mohit says, will the benefits of ethics morality conflict is equal to the benefits of contextuality of values? Yes. So when these conflicts happen, we discover, to some extent you can say that, Mohit, you are correct. हाँ बोलो. Someone is, हाँ. So he asked a wonderful question, or at least as far as I'm able to understand, he said that you said that there is a culture of conformity. But what if that culture of conformity is not because of any external pressure, but because it is of the natural order? It is something that is self-volunteered. Now the problem is that this culture of conformity, as natural as it looks, see, there are several ways how you can regulate human behavior. And several ways you can regulate. One is by law, which means there is an external imposition, as we will see. The other is by societal ethics, where people voluntarily adopt it. So it is not that when untouchability was practiced in our country, it was not that the people who were higher caste, they believed it was right. The people who were of the lower caste, they also felt that it was right. They accepted it as a part of natural order. It will still exist in some parts of our country. I was working as a Prime Minister's Rural Development Fellow. So I remember when I went to a village, so I heard that they had cut the electricity. The new Prime Minister had just been sworn in, and they had cut the electricity of a village. So if you go to a village, you will see that all the upper caste, or generally the well-to-do, socially and economic progressive caste, they will be living together in the center somewhere, and they'll be very far off the Dalit communities will be living. And what is the one benefit that electricity does? How does electricity empower people? Like how can it act as a force of upliftment? Tell me. In a village, think of a village setting. Somebody has electricity. Is there human activity? Yes. Okay. Energy is very, yes. Yes, very good. More man hours. You're coming very close. So there one person was there, being from the Dalit community. He had just cleared the state services. So I asked him that what his daily schedule was. And very wonderfully, he sang to me. He was still living in the village. He said, Ki, sir, we used to, whole day I used to work in the fields. और शाम में हाथ पैर धोकर करीब 6-7 बजे I used to study from 6 p.m. and now village is also having electricity, so I used to study till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. So that is how I ended up cracking the state civil services. He had gotten a good rank when I visited the village. I had gone there to do an inquiry. So do you see that how it may directly have an impact on primary education? 10th का रिजल्ट बिजली के रहने और नहीं रहने से इम्पैक्ट कर जाएगा. उतना छोड़ो, if I remove electricity from your rooms, your performance will 1 week before prelims exam, if there is no electricity in your room, will your result be affected or not? Yes or no? So that is how it will also affect educational outcomes, which is why electricity is such a merit good, which everybody needs, but not everybody may be able to afford. So I went there, these dominant caste people said, they said, Jante hain sir, you know sir, these people have become so daring that now they are also lighting bulb and studying. And he expected that I will side with him. This person who was telling me they are having so much daring these days, they have become so empowered that nowadays they are also using tube light. Earlier they had, but now they are using tube light, and they have also started. Their children are also starting to work instead of working in our houses. That was what what was told to me by. So do you see that how these things will have a great change? Anyway, so these subordinated caste groups and social groups, they often accept that there is no way you can know whether your conformity is correct or wrong. It is asking a fish, how is the water today? And she will say, what water? Because she's living in all of water. It's like aliens asking, how is Earth doing? And you say, I mean, right? Yes. Ethics versus law. Have I told you what is law? Tell me what is law. Yes, we largely define sometimes law as, it is often said to be the codification of societal ethics. What do I mean by codification? I simply mean that it has been written down, arranged into parts and subparts, and divided into chapters, just like our constitution. It has parts and chapters and articles, so that is written down. It's very important, given that for the very first time in modern history, who was the first who codified law? Napoleon. So for the very first time when Napoleon, who was he in touch with in India? Tipu Sultan. It is said that they exchanged letters when the French Revolution had happened. So his biggest contribution was he was very instrumental in spreading the rule of law wherever he conquered. He said that now people will not be governed by the whims and fancies of men. They will be governed by what? Law, which will be equal for all. And he made you can use this quotation also, this famous quotation by Napoleon, who said that law must be so simple that it should be understood by a peasant, and it must be so succinct, so brief, so small, not like the Indian constitution. You decide or dukhi ho jao. Like the US constitution, ek panne ka. That it should fit in a coat's pocket. That is what Napoleon said. So law is the codification of societal ethics. Its purpose is to enforce order in society. Its purpose is to enforce order in society. It regulates the behavior. It regulates the behavior and conduct of all three: individual, organizations, and even society. But when it does this, individual, organization, and society, it needs a central authority. It needs a central authority for enforcement. Who enforces law in our country? The union, you can say the executive enforces law made by parliament in our country. And who enforces moral law? There will be a problem. No, judiciary does not enforce moral law. Let us say if you commit a crime and are sitting quietly in the class, and let us say you get scot-free because you say I was attending the class while the murder happened. But inside you have this guilt. Now this man will try to scare you. Let us say he's a righteous man. He says, police se to bach gaye, lekin हाँ भगवान से. So you therefore, for all secular law, who's the enforcer? The state is the enforcer. For all religious laws, who is the enforcer? It is God, which is why man would invent God or need God. Otherwise, nobody may be moral. If you try to scare somebody saying that don't kill other people, he says, क्या होगा? है ना? You will say कि पाप लगेगा, ये होगा. So in all religions, you will have the concept of what is a judgment day. In some, the word sometimes is Kayamat ka din. What happens on this day? The dead shall be resurrected and they shall be tried, isn't it, by God on the judgment day, and they'll be sent to hell or heaven. Right? So there is a central authority who enforces for its enforcement. That is the state. There is punishment for violation. There is punishment for violation. There is punishment for violation. Right? Tell me, what is the test of a good law? When do you say a law is good? Tell me, what is the test of a good law? Acceptance of a law. So if it is widely accepted, then it is a good law, such as the government makes a law that if you feel like you can kill female fetus and kids and society is okay, then will it be a good law? Wide acceptance by society is not the test of a good law. Though wide acceptance by society merely ensures legitimacy of the law, which means it becomes and ensures enforceability of the law. If you have made a law which society does not accept, then it may become, its legitimacy may be challenged. ये कैसा कानून है? What sort of law is this? Okay. In the class, try to think. All of you, I'm telling you, try to think. Some people just want to take notes and go back home. Ethics is a thinking paper. There are several stages of the examination. This is just one of them. So you have to think. Your overall mind has to open and you have to understand things. The nature of paper is not such that you can mug up, write notes and just write it. For large parts of the syllabus, you can do that. But in the end, when your final selection time will come, if your understanding has not developed, then there will be a problem, which is why you may be given some superfluous information. But the purpose is such that you should not be a person who has, because if you don't have that understanding and question comes tedha or your understanding is not developed, then you will be caught in exam cycle. People don't get stuck in exam cycle because they have not studied. Some people may be stuck because they have not studied. That's for large, but among the serious crowd, people don't get stuck in the exam cycle or get stuck in the exam cycle even after studying, for the simple reason that they know things, but they have not developed its understanding or how things work. So which is why when there is a new question, the things that they write, it makes no logical sense. I was seeing some copies and then I was a little sad that why people are just assorting facts. When I saw some of the highest score people, and I just happened to see I started seeing old copies from the first batch. And I suddenly saw the people from the first batch, they had written very logical answers. And this year also, if you see the people who have gotten high marks, the score ki baat kar raha hu, not the rank, then you will see their answers are logical. Everybody is thinking that I will just do some value addition, something. No, the commission is deeply disincentivizing it. We knew it in the year of Aditya itself that everybody will copy, underline karke examples and justification, and that will be nearly negatively rewarded. And that we saw this year with the high marks of people who have simple written logical answers. Logical answers will be written when you have understanding. Otherwise, you will write points under headings, and what you have written under heading will not make sense of the heading itself. It will not justify what you have just written above it. You know? So now tell me, what is the test of it? So good, very good. So you said that it should be acceptable. That's a good. And now we know that acceptability of a law is not merely is a necessary, may be a necessary condition for a good law, but it may not be a sufficient condition. Very good. What? So Napoleon gave one test of a good law. Huh? All right. So first is that what did the American Revolution teach us? They gave the battle cry of no taxation without representation, subsequent to which it was believed that no legislation without representation. The Americans, when they said no taxation without legislation, without representation, that was the battle cry for the American Revolution. Understand that, which is why the question will come that American Revolution was mercantile. It was just the uprising of the mercantile class. It was not a true revolution. If they had just changed one word, that no legislation without representation, they could have been much more revolutionary. For the simple reason that this taxation was done by Great Britain, and the Americans were not represented in it. One essential criteria for a good law is it must be framed by a representative body. In our case, who frames such laws? The parliament. But then parliament framed the farm laws. People did not accept it. Was it a good law? That is a very good observation, that following veil of ignorance while framing. So that will be, I'll say that will be a test of a just law. Very good. Or the second test of a good law will be, when the government brought the farm laws, the government had to repeal it. On what grounds were the farm laws contested by the people? Why were there protests? Very good. So therefore, a second criteria is that it must be framed in consultation with stakeholders. And who are the stakeholders? Those likely to be affected. What was the parliament's answer to it? The parliament answered that the parliament represents everyone and we have framed it. So we are good. 2010, around 15 years from now, millions of people here assembled in Ramlila Maidan under the leadership of Anna Hazare, demanding an anti-corruption law. And India Against Corruption movement happened. What was the parliamentary response to this assembly in Ramlila Maidan, where they asked the government to come up with an anti-corruption law and the institutionalization of a Lokpal and Lokayukt? How did the parliament respond? Was it happy? Are you aware of this Anna Hazare movement, 2010? So the parliamentary response to it was best articulated by the then member of parliament and hopefully a minister, Sri Lalu Prasad Yadav, who said that there may be 1 million people protesting and asking for a Lokpal Act and a Lokayukt Act and anti-corruption law in our country in response to scams such as 2G scam and Colgate scams that had happened back then. But they do not represent the will of the nation. And in our country, it is the parliament which represents the will of the people, and the parliament is supreme. And the parliament is sovereign and it is supreme. Did he make the correct statement? No. So next day, the newspaper editorials will full. Mr. Lalu, parliament is not supreme, the people are supreme in our country. In our country, parliament is not sovereign, or you can say so, but it is not supreme. Right? So therefore, consultation with respected stakeholders is one criteria. Now just think of it, a simple case. I make this law in this class that those who are taller than, let's say, 5 feet 5 inches, or who are taller than 5 feet 4 inches, they will be awarded an extra marks in the test. Because, the distance between their knees and brains is big. They have less blood supply in their head. Right? So they should be awarded better marks. I make this law. What is the problem with this law? Why is it not fair? It's not reasonable. Very good. Because it's not reasonable. On what grounds it is not reasonable? How did he come to know it is not reasonable? It is not logical. Why is it not logical? Yes. So basically, once this law, if I make this law and quietly implement it, nobody questions. But if I publish it like it should be, then one of you will reason out that there's no relation, no scientific objective study to say that people who are taller have less brains in their less blood in their brains and are less intelligent. And one of you, if it is subject to public reason, you will figure it out that Mr. Ayush has brought this law to ensure that women don't get good marks because all the women in the class are less than 5 feet 5 inches. Do you see that? And is inherently biased in favor of male candidates. So the third criteria for a good law is that it must be it must be subject to public reason. Was there debate or discussion on the farm laws? No debates and discussion. First brought through an ordinance, then passed by the parliament. Any act that is passed by the parliament, if you don't know the answer, a question aa gaya. So if you don't know what that act is about, you get in paper in GS2 that analyze this act, you don't know anything, make up by writing this. Napoleon famously said that the problems with this law is, if nothing you know, then you write that it was not subject to public reason, no consultative, pre-consultation meetings were held with relevant stakeholders, the relevant, ऐसे करके कम से कम half a page लिख देना. You will get marks not for addressing the question, but you will get marks for whatever you have written that is correct. It's like the speech prime ministers and presidents make at the United Nations. Poverty must be eradicated. Public corruption must be fought. There's nothing wrong in that and nobody can question it. So your question has to be like, answer has to be at least like that. All right? Let us make a table. Law, rule and regulation. What is the apex law? Apex law is the constitution. After the apex law, which law is there? Yes, parliamentary laws. Or you can simply say parliamentary law or legislation. After this, what will be there? State laws. Okay, no, you can say this is constitution, this is law. Under below law, there must be rules, and below rules there will be orders. What is supreme? So if the local DCP passes an order that nobody should be stepping outside of their buildings, that will be an order. You will ask the question, don't say that which, you will tell him what is my constitutional right, he will not talk about it. But if you question him that under what rules have you passed this order, he will say the rules that have been made by my seniors, such as the commissioner of police. Then you can question that these rules made by the commissioner of police, they have been done under what act? And then when that act, if you have to question it, you will say that, do they conform to the act or the law? Does it conform to the constitution? If any of these conflict with each other going upwards, then they can be held as null and void. Isn't it? So when we were working in Manrega, that time it was said that Manrega workers will be provided 100 days of unskilled manual labor. So I was asked to make a man days plan, man into days. I was working as a Prime Minister's Rural Development Fellow. So I told my collector that, she said that make a plan that everybody should get at least 50 days or 30 days off. I said, ma'am, but the act says 100 days. Then she famously corrected me, which I remember till date, and as a young 22-year-old. So she said, Mr. Ayush, don't tell me the act, you are not an activist. You read what is the government order. And tell me what is the order. It is saying that at least 50 days ka target you have to meet, and that is what I'm trying to do, because there is no demand for the work. So as civil servants, you will not be guided by the act, you will be guided by orders, you will be guided by rules. All right, is this clear? Right in the first paragraph, law versus rule versus regulation. Law is framed by legislature. Law is framed by legislature. It is broad and second, it is broad and general guideline. It is broad and general. Third, it must conform to the constitution, in bracket supreme law. It must conform to the constitution, in bracket supreme law. Next, its purpose is to promote a just society. In rule is if law is made by the parliament or legislature, rules are made by, yes, executive through delegated legislation. Why I'm using this word delegated legislation? You can expect a full question on delegated legislation in the future. This area has not been asked before. Made by executive, even private bodies, but it is made by executive and made through delegated legislation. What is delegated legislation? Everybody knows. Yes, lawmaking generally is the function of an elected body, a representative body such as the parliament. But is it possible for the parliament to make all the laws? So therefore it will make some laws and provide the broad contours. And then these laws will be given to the executive, such as the government, who will be said that you frame rules for its smooth conduct. Can you tell me one constitutional amendment which amends, for prelims this is important, and constitutional amendment which amends a fundamental right, a fundamental duty, and DPSP? Those who know, raise your hands. Raise your hands, those who know. Which, yes, young lady, tell me. Amendment on cooperative societies. Okay. You? Yes. The 86th Amendment Act, 86th Constitutional Amendment Act. What does it talk about? The right to education. This was brought in 2002. Right to education. But once, and what will the act say? It will simply say all children between 6 to 14 years shall have a right to education. A fundamental right to education under Article 21A. All right. So therefore, but just by parliament making this law, will everybody get right to education? And as parliament may make this law, but what happens? There's a child living in a village and his nearest school is 100 kilometers far away. Does he have right to education? It's not. So these are something known as non-self-executory rights. These are known as non-self-executory rights. There are two kinds of rights. One is self-executory, which means you bring the law, it automatically operates, and you only have to worry about its violation. Second is you bring the law, and then you have to do things to execute it. That is non-self-executory, such as I say right to equality. I don't have to worry about anything. Everybody is equal. Unless a problem happens, you come to the state. When I say everybody shall have free food, now it's not self-executory. If I just make this law, people will be running into each other's houses to steal food. So if I have to execute it, then what will I have to do? I'll have to make rules and say that every municipal commissioner in his area will set up food stalls for people. I'll have to do that? Yes or no? So that at least that law will be, and then there'll be rules. I'll have to make those rules so that every food stall must cater to 500 people, depending on the population. They must survey the areas who want free food. All these rules have to be made and they have to be implemented. Isn't it? So right to education, Act 86th Amendment Act, to execute this, you had Right to Education Act. This was brought when? 2009. Yes, implemented from 1st April 2010. And then also it was not fully operational until they brought Right to Education rules. This is Act of Parliament, Constitution, Supreme Law. This is RT Act made by Parliament or law, and this is RT rules. When was it brought? 2000? I think 2012 होगा मेरे हिसाब से. कब है? 10 या नहीं 2010. RT rules 2010, RT Act 2009, and Right to Education Constitutional Amendment Act 2002. They occur in a hierarchy. You can give a very good example. What is the purpose of rules? The purpose of rules is to give effect to law. The purpose of rules is to give effect to law. है ना? It cannot exceed the mandate given by law. It has to operate within the mandate given by law. You know? If you see rules can also be framed by private organizations. Why will they frame it? For smooth conduct of operations. These rules may not be public. And only available for internal employees. Employees or stakeholders, such as, for example, RWA rule. Resident Welfare Association, they have rules. Bachelors, blacks, students will not be given flat. Right? You said, okay, bachelors, then they had to write. Or people who, so there sometimes in Bombay you'll always have this. Suddenly the RW will have a rule. The rule says that bachelors, black people, and third, film stars or film actors will not be given a flat. In some areas you will have students will also not be given a flat. तुमको लग रहा है ये चारों बिल्कुल अलग प्राणी है, स्टूडेंट्स को इसमें क्यों जोड़ दिया उन्होंने, right? So they will have their own rules for the smooth conduct of their organization or their building, so that for the welfare of their residents, such as they will feel that if a student is there, he will sleep at 2 a.m., then he will play music, whereas everybody, a family man, will sleep by 10 p.m. because they have kids in the morning, they have to send them to school. So they will make rules for their welfare, isn't it? And then you have regulation. What does the word regulation mean? Yes. So regulation is created by government agency or regulatory bodies. Generally government agencies or independent, you can use the word independent regulatory bodies. Independent regulatory bodies. Its purpose is again to enforce law. Regulation is enforced through what is called enforcement tools, such as the power to register an FIR. And it is usually in the field of, and it is usually to control, it is usually to control private players, such as in certain area of economy. Control private players, activities of private players in certain area of economy, such as, for example, health sector. So regulation for hospitals will be there. Education sector, regulation for schools will be there. All right. Right, make a table and write down the difference between ethics and law. If you get a question, how does ethics and law differ from each other? In first side you write, ethics is the societal notion of right and wrong. Ethics is the societal notion of right and wrong. In ethics only you write. It evolves through culture It evolves through culture, norm, and practice tradition. It evolves through culture, norm, and practiced tradition. It regulates behavior. It regulates behavior through moral persuasion. You know, through moral persuasion. It creates it creates social obligations on the individual. It creates social obligations on the individual. It may or may not conform to formal law. It may or may not conform to formal law, such as, bracket may write, not feeding stray dogs. Some ethics, है ना? Yes. Next, it is the unsaid and unwritten law of society. It is the unsaid and unwritten law of society. It is the unsaid and unwritten law of society, not enforceable in a court. Its violation may cause guilt, anxiety. Its violation may cause guilt, anxiety, inner turmoil, and may lead to social sanction. And may lead to social sanction. Next to right. Ethics is subjective and changes. Ethics is subjective and changes, depending on context. Right? Now in the right hand side, law. Law is legal formal set of rules. Law is legal formal set of rules. I told you ethics evolves, but law, ठीक है. Law is enacted. Law is enacted through a deliberative and legislative process. Law is enacted through a deliberative and legislative process. It uses the tool of authority and power. It uses the tool of authority and power. It regulates behavior through state imposition. It regulates behavior through state imposition, comma. There is fear of punishment, comma. There is fear of punishment. Next. It is written down. It is not unwritten. It is written down, codified, and enforceable in a court. It is written down, codified, and enforceable in a court. It is more objective and less context. It is more objective and less context dependent. Which is more objective? Yes, it is not. It is independent of content. No matter who you are, the law will be same for everyone. Do you see? So therefore, if you see law and ethics, the primary difference is that both of them regulate human behavior. If you are sitting peacefully in this class, it is of two reasons. One is that there is a law in this place that you cannot hit anyone, no matter how much you dislike them. But it's also your inner sense of morality and ethics that you should not hurt others. You should live peacefully. So both these tools. But while they both regulate human behavior, their approach is different. What is the difference in approach? Their approach differs that while ethics asks you to do something, because there is a certain, it uses the tool of moral persuasion that please don't do this because it is not the right thing to do, isn't it? And there is ethics regulates your behavior. When you violate ethics, what happens? You have this feeling of guilt individually first. You have this anxiety. You have an inner turmoil, isn't it? Further, when you do not act as per the standards of ethics set in the society, there is a social sanction against it. It is externally and socially imposed on you, isn't it? And it may lead to social sanction, it may lead to social ostracization, such as may happen with Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, and in case of you, if you go for an arranged love marriage without the consent of your parents, then there will be social ostracization. Why? Because you've just exercised something that is not as per societal ethics. So this is how, so, so do you think why just this societal ethics may influence one of the most important decisions of your life? And somebody may ask me, why are you afraid? There is no law that says. He said, no, it's not the law, but all my family values and everything, they do not support something like this, isn't it? On the other hand, law will also regulate behavior. And its difference is that it is exactly pinpointed, objective, written down, codified, and specific set of do's and don'ts. It is an external imposition imposed by the state, and if you break the law, then its violation is punishable by punishment from the state, isn't it? It is not a moral suasion on you. The state does not say, please don't do this. It simply says that if you don't do this, you go to jail, isn't it? And it uses authority and power. It does not use moral persuasion. It uses authority and power to enforce it. So this is the difference between. Now what happens when ethics and law, they conflict with each other? When ethics and law, they conflict with each other, three things may happen. The first situation may be that law may reinforce societal ethics. Law may reinforce societal ethics. But society also thinks right, and law also tries to enforce it. If this happens, you have harmony and peace, isn't it? You can pick up the points from the previous discussion, ethics and morality. Harmony and peace. If you were to change the context, then this itself will become ethics and law. They can be relatively replaced by the same debate as morality versus ethics. You read it twice or thrice, it will make sense. Because then morality will be the individual notion of right and wrong, and ethics will be the society's notion of right and wrong. Here, ethics is the broadly, loosely, it is the individual and society's notion of right and wrong. Law is the state notion of right and wrong. Legal formal notion of right and wrong. All right, is this clear? So therefore, harmony, you can pick up all the points that harmony and peace will be there in the society. There will be, and can you think of some laws that remain for society, such as, for example, laws that ban abolition of, for example, polygamy? इसका opposition नहीं हुआ था, कम हुआ था. Why? Because half the population supported it. Not the case with sati and all. There was a problem in the country, right? Or you can think of certain acts such as POSH Act, Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace, or POXO Act. Right? The second is law may cause societal ethics to develop. Law may cause societal ethics. You have brought a law and expect that society will see morality in it, isn't it? Any progressive law, they will try to do the same thing, such as, for example, Domestic Violence Act. What is the purpose? To make give this realization to society, to give realization to society that women are not property of men, and they enjoy equal civil rights like men, They enjoy equal rights as men in a marriage. And if those rights are violated, the state will not sit back and simply watch. Big message to, or for example, prohibition of dowry, the prohibition of dowry, or for example, the abolition of online gambling. कुछ बच्चे दुखी हैं कि अच्छे से 2-3 घंटे कट रहे थे दिन में, है ना? Prohibition of child labor, prohibition of untouchability. Think of something like so for example, law and ethics, if you see, UP government recently, so there is a Good Samaritan law. You're aware of it? What is a Good Samaritan? Who's a Good Samaritan? Yes, a Good Samaritan. So UP government said that a Good Samaritan is one who helps a fellow citizen in distress. So UP government recently, what it is, instead of, so what happens is there is a road accident victim. Earlier the problem was if you take a road accident victim to the hospital, then the doctor will call you, he say rukiye. Then he will say, tell the guard, band karo. फिर कहेगा medical legal case है, you are nearly the accused. You will say, I just brought him. He said, no, the police will decide that. So will anybody help an accident victim? No. Around 2016, for the very first time, Supreme Court had nudged the government several times that people who help accident victims, they end up becoming accused by the SHO. Why did the SHO make them the accused? काम आसान है मेरा, तुम लेकर आए हो तो तुम ही ने मारा होगा, बस अब पड़ गए चक्कर में. So after this, Supreme Court gave several judgments where they said that people who bring accident victims to hospital, they have the right to simply leave. Doctors cannot, hospital cannot ask them to stay back. They also have no obligation to become a gawah in that case, because then you know कि रोज job छोड़ के you have to go to the court कि भाई तुमने कैसे देखा है ना, and you'll get तारीख पे तारीख. So you know that if you just help somebody, that you'll get in trouble with the state. Now UP government, I think this last April में itself 5,000 से 25,000 किया. If you help save a victim's life, then you will get. And the government also brought changes to the Motor Vehicle Act, in which this law has been incorporated, that helping road accident victims, you will not be treated as a abhid. You can also leave. You do not have to be waiting for the. So similarly, you will see that sometimes law and ethics will come in conflict, such as this time Supreme Court has already, all the industries are afraid right now. Why are they afraid? Because they know that Delhi pollution will happen. In our class also pollution will be there. You will not see me and I will not be able to see you. Right? So therefore, every time all the industries are very wary that for 3 months, either the government or through the Supreme Court, they will close down all factories. And then the government will give a second order that play all the employees. So therefore, all factory owners are worried that this is how businesses go bankrupt in our country. So this time, thankfully, Supreme Court earlier itself has said that, okay, CSCP may bring something, but you have to balance both air quality, which we will try to bring some law or orders, and livelihood, which means don't give pass orders for close down of factories. So all the factory owners are or businesses are thinking that this time, law and ethics, not. Similarly, compassion for strays, you're aware. Recent judicial orders first gave an order that there must be not be in public places, and then they must. So law and ethics will keep coming in conflict several times with each other. Yes. So law may cause to develop societal ethics. Good Samaritan laws also you can write in India. Good Samaritan law. Right. It was in the Save Life Foundation case, 2016. Save Life Foundation case. And third, baby, that law may run completely counter to societal ethics. In such case, what will have? There will be unrest, there will be disharmony, there will be protest. Its legitimacy may be challenged. Its legitimacy may be challenged. Enforcement will be difficult. Will it be possible to enforce? इस बार डॉग ऑर्डर में लास्ट सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जो, not the last but the before that, Supreme Court had simply said that you remove all stray dogs from public spaces because a 6-year-old child had died, from what I can remember. But they also passed an order that if anybody obstructs it, then the court will take contempt. So that is why you are not seeing any protest in the country. I mean, the protest may happen in the final, but in the streets, nobody was protesting. The feeder groups were not protesting. So it may not appeal to. And what was one very good argument that was given in the court? They said that this is a classical case of a small but vocal minority. Small, but in a democracy, who rules? Majority or minority? Majority or minority? Yes. But in effect, you will see that this is also the flaw of democracy. So one fear of democracy is that because it means majority rule, there is a threat of majoritarianism. In a democracy, what is the fear? There is a threat of majoritarianism, that the majority will impose its values on the minority. But in fact, in reality, what generally happens in democracies are that a small but vocal minority always captures power because the majority is divided. Sometimes because it is divided, sometimes because it is not very vocal about its rights or its cause. So which is why you'll see that while some of you may be disturbed by the stray dog menace, you will not be able to understand why. It will be difficult because you will not be vocal about it. But people who are sympathetic to that cause, they will be always more vocal, and that is why you will not understand. Everybody knew that in 3-4 days this judgment will be overturned because, I mean, the animal lovers group are more vocal about their cause than the ones who are don't. The opposite is not animal hater. I'm saying anti-feeding, right? Anti-feeding groups. All right. So these will be the challenges. Difficult in enforcement. There is a lack of social acceptance, social unrest. So such as, for example, decriminalizing adultery. People not able to accept wide adultery decriminalization. Which case? Joseph Shine case. Very good. Difficult, isn't it? Or decriminalizing homosexuality. The next logical step was accepting same-sex marriages. Are same-sex marriages allowed in India? So technically, you'll hear news once in a while that 2 people have married of the same sex. But while it is allowed, as in allowed, you don't go to jail because homosexuality has been decriminalized. It's no longer a criminal offense. Earlier, you could not marry. So while you can say that while it is allowed, it is not legally recognized. You'll see इसको impose करने में दिक्कत आएगी सरकार को भी. It is not legally recognized. Means you can't get it registered. But yes, you can marry. Now the question will come from, so tell me, should we break law when it conflicts with whatever you call it? You can call ethics or morality or conscience. Should we break the law? क्या तोड़ कर आए हो अभी? So we'll, depending on who you are, should we break the law or not? How many of you feel that our politicians are corrupt? Raise your hands, it's okay. How many feel that we don't need politicians? Raise your hands, it's okay. Anybody who feels that the political class is the primary reason behind troubles of the country? You feel that? So anybody else who feels that we don't need politicians? Yes, young lady, do you feel that sometimes? Manu Joseph has written a book. The book says Why the Poor Don't Kill Us. Read it sometime. अभी समय है, मतलब prelims भी नहीं है और अभी mains exam है. Read it sometime. So he gives a very good narrative that India's poor are the one of the ones who have the least sense of entitlement. I mean, you could scold a poor man or a poor woman and he will not protest. This does not happen anywhere else in the world. And that is why you will see that whenever there'll be a leopard sighting or a tiger sighting, there'll be a leopard or a tiger sighting, what will happen? The whole state administration will be on the side of whom? When a leopard or a tiger is sighted in a village and village people are all poor, what will be the biggest concern the village people will have? So if you see the narrative on this wildlife man conflict, at first it would happen that the first phase, this narrative was that, or this is what is called the discourse जो चलता था, वो ये चलता था कि forest is shrinking, so therefore they come to the villages for what? For drinking water, for cattle, for dogs, for goats, they come. Now then slowly there was a different narrative. They said that these villages are actually the land of the leopard we have occupied into their territory. Okay, slowly. So whenever there will be a leopard or tiger sighting and somebody will complain, so if you're killed by a leopard in most villages, the compensation by the government will be 25,000 rupees. Right? So Manu Joseph very nicely he writes that if you go and say, a man will be crying that my 6-year-old daughter has been killed by the leopard, and he says, what happened? What action did the state take? So I asked to the Indian Forest Service official or the DFO. He said that, look, my job is to protect the leopard. So therefore, when you go there, the entire forest department is saying that don't go there, the leopard has given birth or the tigress has given birth. So they'll ask that you leave your livelihood and cattle and everything, you leave and relocate. Because, and the discourse currently is that it's not that the forest has shrunk and they are coming into villages, it's just that you have expanded into the forest and technically you are entering their space. And see, the state administration will do that. When they go to the police will also side with the leopard. In which case only one person sides with the village people. Who's that? Yes, it is the politician who will come and protest and say कि people's rights, ये बच्ची जो मरी है 25,000 इसका कैसे? कम से कम है ना 2 लाख 5 लाख दिलाओ. And that is, he gives one of the reasons among others. He says that this is the reason why this poor person will not rebel against the state. Because at least he is able to vent out, he is able to articulate him through groups such as political parties. Right? A very valid point, isn't it? So you will need politicians, otherwise our country has not seen an armed rebellion, a serious armed rebellion or civil unrest leading to the overthrow of the government. It has not happened in our country. Several reasons are there. One reason, of course, is that, of course, you have a political class that has some hidden enlightened elements. Second reason is also a system of public examination. You must have read outside of this world, there is a massive criticism of India's public examination. You are aware of this? Yes or no? That says कि इस exam youth की life खराब कर रहा है. But this is a very strong case because this gives, so all of you, largely the selection will happen from a middle class. But do you see that this exam or public examination system will be one exam where somebody who is extremely poor, extremely backward, for whatever means, whether it is affirmative action plus his own hard work and effort, he will have one opportunity to change his social strata from extremely backward to at least the middle class and maybe the upper middle class. And that opportunity ensures that large sections of the poor will not protest because they know that those opportunities are available. And which is why it's very important that these examinations are conducted in a very fair manner. And not only they should be fair, but they should be seen to be fair. Because once you have that, otherwise, why will not the poor protest against, and the middle class acts as a great insulation layer. Manu Joseph said that this middle class protects the rich from the wrath of the poor. Right? Given the vast inequality in society. It's a wonderful read. आराम से कभी पढ़ लेना. Or I'll give you some notes from it. आगे कभी. Conflicts with, yes. Should we break law when the conflict? So, if you are a citizen, 3 cases can be there. Or 2 cases. The second, if you are a civil servant. What should you do? If your conscience conflicts with what is the law. As a citizen, there will be 2 cases. One will be in pre-independence. So was Gandhi wrong when he broke the salt laws? No. In pre-independence, citizens had right. What should they do when they should had a right to break? This right was given by law? No, this right was given by their conscience. Why? If you, yes, very good. Because these laws were unfair, they were exploitative. है ना? They did not secure, they were not made to secure, within inverted commas, public good. And the reason was that they were framed by framed without, yes, without consultation. Forget consultation, without consultation or representation of the Indians or those who were supposed to be affected by it. Valid reason to break a law. These laws were made by a exploitative power, an imperial power, a foreign power, exploitative, no representation, no voice of those who were supposed to be governed by it. So therefore, law must be made in consultation with those who it seeks to govern, isn't it? So on these grounds, breaking the salt law was justified. Now, if you see the evolution of our society and political culture of our country, what is the political culture of our country? If politicians oppose the ruling party, what do they do? Yes, young lady, what do you think the people do when politicians, they are unhappy with the ruling government? Do they go and shoot them? No, हाँ बोलो. Do they go and kill the ruling party politicians? They try oppose them. What tools do they use? Walk out from the parliament. And when you are not in the parliament, through petitions, you will protest, you will do dharna, you will do pradarshan. These are tools of Gandhian protest. So if you see the evolution of our history, you must have heard of, after the non-cooperation movement followed the civil disobedience. And after the civil disobedience, you had the Quit India movement. And then you had the Royal Naval Ratings who had protested. How many of you think in this class that the armed forces had a legitimate reason to take over if politicians were corrupt? You are living in a very managed society right now. So right now is not the time, but way back in sometime around 2010-11, a lot of Indians felt that army was much less corrupt and politicians should be overthrown and army rule would have been better. Now what happened is, in our history of our country, when the Royal Naval Ratings, they protested and they wrote Quit India, right? Angrezo Bharat Chodo. So very progressive, right? So first was disobedience. So first was non-cooperation. I'll not cooperate with you. Then the second phase was, I will disobey what you say. And third is, ab bahar niklo, yeah, quit India. So now all rebel ratings, they came. So the Hindus went to Gandhi and Congress saying that we are protesting against the British rule. They must leave. And the Muslims went to Muhammad Ali Jinnah. What was the response? Muhammad Ali Jinnah entertained. They said, yes, you must protest. And what did Gandhi say? He said two things. The first thing he said that if you have done, so why were they protesting? Two things. One was European rule. Second was poor treatment meted out to Indian soldiers in comparison to the European soldiers. I repeat, poor treatment meted out to Indian soldiers in comparison to European soldiers. सारे बढ़िया काम उनको, सारे manual काम इनको दे दिए जाते. So Gandhi famously said that if you are doing it for improving your work conditions, and you are protesting, you have walked out, you are not listening to the British government, then you are wrong. And if you are doing it for India's freedom, you are doubly wrong. So those of you who have read Gandhi, you will realize that this was the masterstroke which ensured that armed forces would never have a say in the political life of our country post-independence. You must have gone through Delhi mein Cariappa Road, FM Cariappa, army generals. So in this country, when we got independence, like most other Asian and African countries, there was a fear that armies will take over. You have a nascent democracy. All the areas, they are hard to unite, right? Hyderabad or Junagadh or Kashmir, and then the southern states, and then there is no one language in which the Indian Prime Minister can speak and everybody will understand. Nothing actually unites the India that was created after 1947. No language, no single culture, no single food. The South Indians eat idli, North Indians eat too many things. Right? Somebody says paratha, poha, koi kahega sir main to bread omelette khata hu. Right? And North Indians will have idli or dosa, right? So if you speak in a language you can't, which is, there is no single religion that binds this whole subcontinent also. But subsequent to this, what happened is, so the Gandhian methods of protest, dharna pradarshan, this would later continue in the political culture of our country. And if you wind the clocks forward to 1970s, when the protest would happen against Indira Gandhi and the imposition of emergency would happen, the problem was that two things had happened. One was that Gandhi's position was that outside my house and outside the members of parliament, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people protesting. Nobody can even move. You are restricting my movement. And all these people, they are armed or unarmed. They are unarmed. They only have placards, right? Indira Gandhi, hi, hi, right? And all these things, right? Down with Congress, all these things. So I cannot even use violence, but these numbers are so huge that it is practically jamming the whole city. Delhi is not able to function. My police is busy managing this crowd. And neither the parliament is able to function because nobody is able to reach office, nobody is able to move out. And protesting on the calls given by whom? Yes, JP movement, which is known as, you can expect a question now in post-independence history, Sampurn Kranti or total revolution. Right, so you cannot move. And her point was legitimate, as Bipin Chandra notes. He says that Gandhi was not wrong when she said that if people are so unhappy, opposition is so unhappy with my rule, then they can wait for the next elections, because elections provide opportunities for people to change their rulers. It's not a dictatorship, right? So she had one legitimate position, but all these protests, if you see, there was legitimacy in it. And there was nothing could be done until the imposition of emergency, until one mistake was made. And when? What was that mistake? There was a call given to the police forces to disobey the government. Now that's a different thing, right? Police forces, armed forces, they are not supposed to have a mind of their own. They have to obey the government in power. If they have a mind of their own, then there's a problem. Then you have parallel power structures. Then you have deep state. Then you have Pakistan. What is our problem in dealing with Pakistan? One problem. We do not know who to talk to. There are multiple power centers. In India, when the American president comes or the Russian president comes, he says, you meet prime minister. You don't say meet the army chief also. Milte jate jate army chief se bhi mil lena, or cabinet secretary se mil lena. है ना? और बाद में मंदिर के पुजारी जी से भी मिल लेना. You don't have to talk to so many people, right? You talk to the prime minister, he will get things done in this country, and he represents the aspiration or the voice of the people. So this legitimacy of this non-violent protest, thanks to Gandhi, this continued in our post-independence culture. And the lid blew off when this call for the police forces to disaffect the government, that was given, which entered a territory that provided reason enough for Mrs. Gandhi to impose the emergency. Because then that would really lead, that may create a situation of civil war. When police does not obey the government, then it means that you have created a parallel force, right? So this is a challenging thing, which is why as a pre-independence, you could do all these things, break law, express dissatisfaction, disobey the law, and whatever you do. But in post-independence as a citizen, what should you do? If law conflicts with your conscience, in such citizens, should they break law? They should not break the law, even if it looks unfair. Unfair. Why? Because in a democracy, citizens have the two tools. One is the power to vote. Second is the right to contest elections. Power to contest elections. These two powers they are having. Their right to vote and contest elections, which allows them to change the government. To change the government. That makes such laws, isn't it? It allows them to change the government. You have the power of vote, hai na? Why? This is, in a democracy, you have, this is what citizens have. And there is a system of periodic, free and fair elections. Some of you may feel why elections होते हैं. Elections are essential if you don't want a civil war in your country. It allows people to, and also sports is important for the same reason. For it sometimes prevents nations from fighting in battlefields. But if it conflicts, then one should not break the law. Then what should one do? They should try to create public opinion against the law. Well, how this public opinion can be created? Through debate, discussion, through debate, discussion, right? Through newspaper articles and opinions. And you can say they can use even modern tools like Dhruv Rathi. दूर से बम मार रहा है, बहुत गुस्सा आया, तो पहले था कि भाई AK-47 उठा लो, अब क्या है, कैमरा माइक उठाओ और अभिव्यक्ति की आजादी एक्सरसाइज करो, है ना, राइट. So this is how you can, what should they do? They should build public opinion against the law. And what are these tools? By using their freedom of expression, अभिव्यक्ति की आजादी. इससे ये सारा कुछ जो इसमें लगे तुमको, जैसे भी तुम अपने आप को अभिव्यक्त करना चाहते हो. With respect to why you cannot prevent people from wearing certain kind of dresses is, people put that wearing certain kind of dress is a part of my freedom of expression, अभिव्यक्ति की आजादी, है ना. Apart from that, you also pressurize the government through, वही जो moderates करते थे, through constitutional means. What are those constitutional means? Prayer और भी कुछ है, and protest, prayer and petition. Next, इंडिया में एक और तरीका दिया हुआ है तुम्हारे पास, जो संविधान तुमको देता है ना. They can also bring the matter, yes, to the judiciary for a second interpretation. Right? This can be done. If you get any question where you are says that you are feeling very unfair, should you break the law? Then in any case study you get, your arguments will have to come from here. Then next, what about, are we going slow or fast? Are we going fast or slow? Slow, yeah, ठीक है, चलो. Then, yes, for civil servant, what should he do? Officer, है ना? So what should he do? A civil servant, when he disagrees with the law, what should a civil servant do? A civil servant must, write down, must never express disagreement with the law in public. Next line. He may express his dissatisfaction. He may express his dissatisfaction. He may express his dissatisfaction through a just ministerial advice, or simply ministerial advice. मंत्री जी को सलाह देनी है, ministerial advice. B, file notings. B, file notings. फाइल में लिख दिया कुछ. C, decent note. Decent note. DISSENT. And D, any other official channel. any other official channel through the hierarchy. Any other official channel through the hierarchy. Next, if the conflict becomes unmanageable, if the conflict becomes unmanageable, है ना, a civil servant may seek transfer or go on a leave as a mark of protest. A civil servant may seek transfer or go on a leave as a sign of protest. As a last resort, if the conscience allows, अंतरात्मा कह रहा है कि अब नहीं हो पाएगा. As a last resort, if the conscience allows, he may resign from the service. If the conscience allows, he may resign from the service. है ना? freeing himself from the limitations on his free speech and expression. Freeing himself from the limitations on his free speech and expression. As a civil servant. Free speech and expression. Limitations on his free speech and expression as a civil servant. Next, then, like an ordinary citizen, he must create awareness against the law / government decision. He must create awareness against the law by expressing his opinions through public meetings. Newspaper editorials. News debates and discussions. And even social media. And last line, if the conviction is very strong, he may contest elections. Is this clear? So this is this law and ethics. This question has come. एक बार देख लेते हैं. Law and ethics are considered to be the two tools for controlling human conduct as to conducive to a civilized social existence. How they achieve this exist? Can we write this? It's a 2-page question, 1 page. Can we write this? How will they achieve this? How does law achieve this? Through element of coercion. There is an element of coercion, isn't it? Through an external imposition, through the fear of punishment by the state, isn't it? And how ethics achieves this? Through moral persuasion and not coercion, isn't it? Can we write this? Yes or no? Show how they differ in their approaches, how they achieve this. Then differentiate between law and ethics. You should be able to write this. Write down a question. Write down this question: ethical management and management of ethics. Just in half a page. Quick. Differentiate between ethical management and management of ethics. And share it with your neighbor. This time people are sitting wide apart so that they don't have neighbors. A question likho. Differentiate between ethical management and management of ethics. I'll want the class to give this answer. Whatever you can think, you can write. Anybody who's finished? दिखाओ. ठीक है. Yes. Good point. And management of ethics. Anybody here? That's okay. You written? This is correct. Now one thing. All right. So that is all. You have to write in 8 minutes. You have to write 3 parts. Now first understand this. This question, when it came, it was a fairly new question. It was not given in the syllabus. So I told you that sometimes some questions are given in the syllabus and some keywords they are not given, but they are a part of the implied syllabus. When you get a new question like this, how will you interpret it? Instead of just getting on to writing, you have to think for a bit. What is the word here? Ethical management. What could this possibly mean? What could this possibly mean? Forget about, I don't know the meaning. It must have a meaning and I have to discover the meaning. Once you know that there is a meaning and you have to discover it, you'll probably do better. What could this possibly mean? Tell me when you say, okay, I say that here the management is very unethical in forum. Then what will you say? What accusations will you have? बोलो late copy checking शुरू करो. हाँ चलो ethical बातें ही बता दो. खुश हो गए कुछ चीजों से. I'm saying this organization forum itself has very ethical management. What are some good things? अब अच्छी चीजें बताओ. Good service delivery. Timely checking of copy, very good. Coordination between the staff, very good. हाँ? फिर ट्रांसपेरेंसी अकाउंटेबिलिटी शुरू कर दिया. पर चलो ठीक है, वो भी करेक्ट है. But you are hitting the bullseye, very good. See, when you get a question like this, don't be intimidated. Half the people, what happens is, ये सुना नहीं है तो हम जान ही नहीं सकते. But what is expected from all of you is that you know English. You don't know ethics, but you know English. You know English. You know or you don't know? You know it. So therefore you think of it. This is saying that there is ethical management. Management is a noun, ethical is an adjective that has been given to it. Let me open up this term. I will try to open up by, I don't know it, and I don't know. What will I do? I'll simply think of when will I say ethical and management. What do I mean by it? Now when I try to define this term, I'll not use the same term. So I'll say that when ethical management is one where administration, can we broadly replace management with administration? They are different terms, but still analogous. Can we say that administration of an organization is? Can you expand the what ethical means to you? Yes, if you say in a generic terms, ethical management is one where the administration of an organization is, for example, based on principles of what? Yes, anything, fairness, equity or equality, customer orientedness. You add any adjective, it will be true. I repeat, you add any objective activity, it will be true. You can say inclusion, equity, customer orientedness, transparency. It exercises transparency in its work. It is accountable to its stakeholders, such as both the staff as well as the employees and the customers. Then you have ethical management. You will say, which in coaching world makes a lot of is an organization which fulfills the promises it has made to all its stakeholders. If it has taken loan, तो बैंक को time से पैसा दे देना, है ना? If it has promised customers certain service, then delivering those services. Right? It has promises certain bonuses to the employees, then meeting those obligations. That is keeping its keeping its promises, which, what else can you say? When there is ethical management, is it just an internal process? Is it also external? It is both. Ethical management requires both internal and external. External है तो internal लगभग हो जाएगा. It is both internal and external. Anybody wants to contribute? What do you think ethical management according to you is? Very good. Now she is using the toolkit that not just focuses ethical management. If you see, focuses on both, not just नीति, but also does न्याय. कि MGP 3 साल extend कर दो मेरा, है ना? 2 साल से नहीं दे पाया हूँ, 2023 वाला भी देने दे दो मुझे पेपर. Right? So it is, you will say that it is while you have right नीति, but न्याय is not happening with me. अब एक बच्चा है 2021 का MGP कह रहा है मुझे लिखना चाहिए, मेरा right है ना? तो right? Tell me और बताओ. Avoids. It avoids. Okay, it avoids conflict and confusion. Tell me what other adjectives you can expand the word ethical to mean. This was a new question that was asked. Nobody knew it. It was not given in the syllabus. If you get something like this, how you will use English to understand it? Ethical and management. Administration of organization which is ethical. Now just expand ethical and tell me all the things. You can always say, yes, which is having honesty towards his customers in his dealing with everyone. So this is basically what an ethical management will be. Right? Now the other second thing is management of what could it possibly mean? What could it possibly mean? You don't know it, you just take a wild guess what it could mean. Yes, young lady, what do you think it may mean? It may be long. So you are coming close. Yes, young lady. Yes. Management. Anybody else? Yes. Uh-huh. Managing conflicts. You are coming very close. Understanding between management of ethics. All right. Very good. Okay. Which is a bigger concept? Management of ethics or ethical management? Management of ethics is a function. Ethical management is a type of management. And if and management is ethical, sometimes when you get the difference, you try to see the relation between them. Will you be able to call a management as ethical management if it fails in the management of ethics within the organization? No, it will not. So one of the functions of ethical management will be to ensure that ethics is managed. Management of ethics within the organization is happening. What could happen? What could go wrong in an organization? Yes, management of ethics. So if you see, if you see management of ethics, basically, management of ethics is having management of ethics refers to, you know, having processes, having what I'd say is having processes that maintain ethical behavior, that not just maintain, they encourage and maintain ethical behavior within the organization. Imagine if it is a bank, and bank has, the manager has lent to his family member and the loan has been defaulted. What is the problem here? There is, forget, the management may be very ethical, but then what it failed to do was it could not manage ethics. You are in a position of distribution of public good, and you have given all the goods to your relative. What have you failed at doing? You have failed to manage ethics within oneself, isn't it? So it is the process refers to process that maintain and encourage ethical behavior within the organization. How will this happen? Management of ethics is, it means it is able to manage two things. One is conflict of values is happening. The two values are conflicting, then the organization knows which value I have to promote or protect. The second is conflict of interest. If you are able to do this thing, then you are able to manage ethics within the organization very well. Isn't it? If it is able to, this will mean that management of ethics will require what? Management of ethics requires objective code of conduct. Extremely important. Because let us say you came here and the office boy or somebody spoke badly to you. Now what will happen is, if there is no objective code of conduct, then he doesn't know how to behave. So therefore, if you want to manage the objective code of conduct, there must also be a code of ethics. Let's say there is a situation of, few situations that can go wrong within an organization is, one can be, there can be a situation of sexual harassment at workplace. Okay, this can be happening. The second is unfair treatment or privileged treatment to few. Third is, for example, unethical sourcing may happen. All these challenges can happen. And fourth is there could be a lack of compliance, lack of legal compliance. Matlab, all these things will go wrong. These things will not go wrong if you are able to have manage ethics within the organization. All these things. If you hear that in a certain bank, they have given a big loan and now the person has defaulted, the first thing you'd want to know that whether it was a related party, matlab related to somebody who owns the bank or has a stake in the bank, or is it if it is unrelated, then it is a bona fide business loss. Is this clear? There's a difference between bona fide business loss and a mala fide business loss. Yes or no? So they gave to a business, the person said that I will make AI tools, and the guy was not having capability, he overestimated, he made a business mistake. But the second is the loan was given to a person who was known relative of the bank manager, and now then he has escaped and they have shared the proceeds. This is a mala fide, right? So therefore there's a conflict of interest, which was no. So you know that. So therefore you will have this objective code of conduct. There will be a code of ethics. Then there must be, to have management of ethics can be ensured by having what is called regular training and sensitization. Why is this important? Because the manager will think, yaar, relative ko loan diya hai, kya hi galat kar diya. They don't see that there is a problem with that. They don't see there is a problem with that. So therefore there has to be regular training and sensitization. Regular, you can say ethical training. कि ये गलत है. Isn't it? And there must be avenues for grievance redressal. अगर कुछ गलत हो रहा है किसी के साथ भी, then it will be avenues for grievance redressal. There must be, you can say, whistleblower protection. Then you'll say the organization has managed, there is good management of ethics. You can also say there should be an ethics committee, right? There should be independent ethics committee. All right. Let us do ethics versus business. Write down a question. Write down a question. Why is it said that it is not possible to be ethically correct as well as commercially successful? Why is it said that it is not possible to be ethically right as well as commercially successful? Tell me, how many of you think that business and ethics, they are wide apart? Anybody? Just write a few lines. Write individual sentences. With a star mark, write individual sentences so that when you read them, you can use it in other places. Okay? Write down a few lines. और कैसे कर लो? छोड़ो. What is the commonly held view? It is commonly held. What is the commonly held view? Commonly held that business and ethics are antithetical. They are always opposed to each other. It is not possible to do business as well as stay ethical. What is the reason? So this, in any situation where you have two views, you always identify one narrow view, the other, yes, the broad view or the wider view. Okay. So one view is that business and ethics are antithetical. What is the reason? One reason is that business is based on what? Yes, based on profit motive. Business is based on profit, है ना? Nobel laureates and even Nobel economists, you know, even Nobel Prize, Nobel laureates such as Milton Friedman, they have said what? The business of business is to do business. We have not got question on this, but we have got exact question on politics. ठीक है, we have gotten question on other. इस पर बाकी है भी question. किसी साल scam होगा तो आएगा. The business of business is to do business. What is the meaning of this? What does this business mean? This business means work. It's just like me asking, what's your business here? You'll say, sir, I've come to attend a class. The business of business. This is the enterprise or the entity. Enterprise is to do business. This is profit. So even Nobel winning laureates such as Milton Friedman have said that the business of business is to do business. Which means they say that it is a part of, it is accepted. One of the key elements of business ethics is what? Shareholder value maximization. Shareholder value maximization. In Indian case, in India, is having what? Do we have a trust for business or distrust? If you don't understand, you tell your parents, I want to become civil servants. They become happy. You tell them, I want to do business. Ab dekho, their face color will change. In the Indian case, there is a distrust for business. All right. One reason is that the country's enslavement was done not by a political power, such as Great Britain, but by whom? A private company, Company Bahadur. The company का सिपाही को कंपनी बहादुर कहते थे. ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी, a private enterprise. एक कंपनी आई और गुलाम बना लिया पूरे देश को. And given our history, it is in our DNA. There is always the Jagat Seth syndrome. Everybody remembers Jagat Seth? Who was Jagat Seth? So he funded whom? No, he funded Robert Clive. Which battle? Yes. In the Battle of Plassey. This battle was very instrumental. Why? इसी से हमारे देश की गुलामी की शुरुआत हुई थी. For the first time, British should have the entire financial resources of a prosperous part of our country, such as Bengal. When I say Bengal, I mean Bihar, Bengal, Odisha, all of them. तो समझ लो पूरा मगध साम्राज्य मिल गया उनको एक छोटा सा, है ना? So Jagat Seth, when he funded Robert Clive in the Battle of Plassey, Jagat Seth, banker of the world, he had more money than among the world's richest men of those times. So he funded, he says, ki theek hai. And which is why you will always have, in our DNA, it is to distrust rich people. Because there is a feeling that apne desh ko bhi bech denge. This is, and which is also the reason why we would adopt, hai na? Yes, socialism. In the Indian context, adoption or चलो ये point छोड़ दो इसको. Apart from that, there are other reasons why it is difficult for ethics and business to coexist. First is that there is intense competition in business. So wherever there is intense competition, what will happen? Intense competition is business. So therefore, ethics is thrown out of window. एग्जाम में टॉप करना एक ही सीट है और पेपर मिल गया किसी को गलती से, right? Then there is focus only on ends not on means, also the consequence of intense competition कह सकते हो. Focus only on ends not on means. Then there is a problem of success trap. You can give example of cola companies. What is success trap? You did something wrong. It worked. Now, because it has been successful, you want to continue doing it. Cola companies, what do they sell? They sell sugar and water and flavors, and they are having billions of dollars in revenue. Now somebody tells them कि कुछ healthy कर लो. अब हो पाएगा उनसे? What will the fear? The board will sit and say, देखो, yeah, health वाला segment you will not be able to cater because people don't see you like that. They see you as unhealthy drink supplier. और ये segment भी छूटेगा तुमसे. Likely to happen also. If somebody just tries to do something else, so there is this problem of success trap. You've done something unethical or something that is not so right. It has worked for you, and therefore you'll keep doing it. Such as, for example, Bimal Pan Masala. You can also, okay. There is also the problem that ethical considerations are seen as a compliance matter. Seen as a compliance matter. Ethical consideration is seen as a compliance matter. And it is seen as it is seen as a technical consideration. Bank says that bank manager should not lend to his relatives. वो कहेगा देख लो technically कहाँ उसको handle कर सकते हैं. There is also the problem why business becomes unethical is because the problem of everyone is doing it. It may also happen in private businesses because, next, there is poor understanding of ethics. Sometimes there is poor understanding of ethics. Poor understanding of ethics. Next, ethics is seen to be a private matter. Ethics is seen to be a private matter. Right? So this is one part where but is it possible? Another side is, but a broader view. What is the broader view? Yes, possible. Not only possible, but necessary. Write down one line, first line. It is not only possible, but also necessary. First, business is based on trust. Business is based on trust. Business is based on trust. And trust is not possible. Business is based on trust, and trust is not possible in absence of ethics. Second, unethical business may give short-term gains. Unethical business may give short-term gains, but create sustainability challenges. Unethical business may give short-term gains, but create sustainability challenges. कब तक कर पाओगे? Next you can give, है ना? Today classical capitalism has given way. Today classical capitalism has given way to compassionate capitalism. Classical capitalism has given way to compassionate capitalism, where people and society people and society are treated ahead of profits. Then there is next emerging ideas of triple bottom line. Emerging ideas of triple bottom line. People, profit, and planets. Then there are further emerging ideas of democratization of wealth. So basically, companies have a top line and a bottom line. Top line is the revenue, bottom line is the profits. Now we say that triple bottom line. So we say that there is not just profits, but there is also people and planet. है ना? So sometimes you will see that when the annual statement of records or the balance sheet will come, then there will be, though it is symbolic only, but it is expected that companies will say that what has been the impact on people. Profit का तो चलो हो गया. Then what is the impact on planet? So you'll see Amazon will say that we have reduced packaging by this much. Do you get this message sometime? तो फाइनल वो बैलेंस शीट वो अपना एनुअल स्टेटमेंट में भी डालेगा टू द शेयर होल्डर्स मीट ऑल्सो दैट वी हैव रिड्यूस पैकेजिंग बाय 33%, रिड्यूस फुटप्रिंट बाय 50%, पूरा डिलीवरी ई व्हीकल्स और ई स्कूटर पर कर लिया है, राइट? सो देयर इज दिस आर emerging ideas that you, when earlier you only talk about your top line and bottom line, now you talk about all these things. And then there are emerging ideas of democratization of wealth through employee stock options. Through employee stock options, which has elements of distributive employee stock option ESOP, which has elements of distributive justice. Then you can write better understanding of corporate social responsibility. Better understanding of corporate social responsibility. You can give some initiatives, give some examples. For example, Infosys Narayan Murthy created millionaires out of the low-rung staff, initial drivers, staff. They also had ESOPs and they became millionaires. That is one example. Modern times, you have Mahindra Group, whose Rise for Good campaign is there. Rise for Good campaign, rural girl education. Rise for Good campaigns by Mahindra Group. Example of ethics plus business. Yes, Fab India has openly declared ethical sourcing. Fab India, ethical sourcing. Like working with 30,000 artisans. You'll see their clothes will have that khadi feel. Not just like, or you have Starbucks initiative of cafe, CAFE. Starbucks initiative of cafe, that is coffee and farmer equity. Cafe, coffee, and farmer equity initiative. So they have ethical coffee farms. Zomato has announced menstrual leaves for employees. Amazon is reducing usage of packaging material, trying to be green. You have Amazon Day Delivery. What is Amazon Day Delivery? Anyone? Amazon will give you an option of Amazon Day Delivery, which means that when you have ordering too many things, yes, then they will be delivered in a single package in one day instead of multiple packages. So these are all green initiatives taken. Can you give some suggestions? How can businesses be made more ethical? Few suggestions you can give, such as, for example, taxation reforms or taxation reforms that incentivize corporate adoption of community, villages, schools. Taxation reform that incentivize corporate adoption of community, villages, schools. Which government scheme is allowing this? Not with villages, but something is there with your heritage. You can give the example, adopt a heritage scheme. Adopt a heritage scheme of the government is there. Corporates are allowed to adopt a heritage. अब हुमायूं का किला है, उसको maintenance में every month 1 lakh rupees will go. ऐसे 1000 किले हैं in the country. So what will say? Government has come with, for example, adopt a heritage scheme. Private companies which are profitable, they can adopt a heritage, they can keep it clean. Unka board lag jayega, their goodwill is also intact, and you are also, archaeological survey is not having that burden. Understanding or not? So that can be done. Then gender budgeting in corporate spending. Gender budgeting in corporate spending. What is gender budgeting? Yes, young lady. You say women, do not by default add always empowerment word. It dilutes your answer. Otherwise, it's a good yes. Keeping in mind that women benefit from these spendings by the corporates. Why is corporate spending so important? Corporate gender budgeting so important? See, the government has simply announced that I'm going to donate 100 crores for promoting entrepreneurship. Looks like a very good decision. If you are a feminist, you will realize that this is completely a patriarchal decision in the absence of a gender budgeting. Why? Because you have given 100 crores. Ordinary persons, if you don't subject it to public reason, I repeat, if you don't subject this government initiative to a public reason, you will see that it is inherently patriarchal and does not help the women cause at all. For the simple reason is, and most men in this class will argue, sir, it is being given to anyone, whether it is a man or a woman. So what's wrong with it if it does not have gender component? The problem is that this is the 100 crore money that has gone. But the problem is, if I see 100 entrepreneurs, hardly 5% are women. 95% are. So if 100 crores is spent, what will happen? All 95 crore will go to men and 5% will go to women. So therefore, if 100 crores decided, you will have to have 50% has go to women entrepreneurs. Otherwise, it inherently will be monopolized by one gender. Is this clear? Is this clear? Similarly, for sports, you will say, I have given 1,000 crore, I'll be devoting to sports. And you don't have a gender component. What will happen? 10% women are there in sports. Haryana hata do, to wo number aur bhi girega. Right? 10% women. So what happens? You have essentially spent just 1,000 crores and no woman is going to benefit from it. Simply because you do not have a gender component. It's better to have a gender component, wait for the women to come, make it easy because you have to spend that money. So you'll say, if you are a man, you may have to fight or contest because there are just too many. But if you're a woman, you'll get it easily. It is fair. It is equity. All right, is this clear? Next, you can write mandating or mandatory paternity leave. Mandatory. No, Priyesh, it was democratizing wealth. Democratizing wealth through employee stock options. Online students. Yes, mandating or mandatory paternity leaves along with maternity leaves. Then, for example, and the final, you can say that how businesses can be made more ethical. Your final conclusion can be Gandhi's trusteeship model. Write down one line. Businesses today can learn from Gandhi's trusteeship model. According to Gandhi, according to Gandhi, business owners must treat business as a trust. Business owners must treat business as a trust and not as a fiefdom. You know fiefdom? F-I-E-F-D-O-M. Jagir samajhte ho? Bas. Fiefdom means you can do anything with it. Right? Business owners must treat businesses as a trust and not their fiefdom. They should take only as much as is needed for their sustenance. Workers should be part of decision making. Workers should be part of management decision making. So trusteeship model combines the best of capitalism with social justice. Was Gandhi a capitalist or a socialist? अरे ये सब कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर रखो बच्चे, इंटरव्यू भी देना है. these are not koi harsh opinion. It is not like some opinion that you have very intellectual opinion. It is something that you should know what he said. So Gandhi is always accused of being pro-capitalist. Did you see him in masses with people, but you'll see that he will always hobnob with the rich. Whenever there was a mill strike, hunger strike, anywhere in the country, the capitalist class knew that only one person can save them, and that is Gandhi. And every time he would come, some so it was he was accused of being a capitalist. And if you go through his readings, you will see that he was he was not one for Nehru. On in the other hand, was more of a socialist. Okay. So yes. Next, let us do one more topic: ethics versus, you can say, in professional competence. एक क्वेश्चन लिखो नहीं तो राइट डाउन अ क्वेश्चन. हाँ, यू डन दिस. यू नीड अ ब्रेक. कुछ बोल रहे थे. अच्छा. हाँ, एनीवन राइट डाउन अ क्वेश्चन. यू ट्राई टू अटेम्प्ट दिस क्वेश्चन. यूपीएससी का क्वेश्चन है ये. लेट मी. हाँ. Very good. So, what he has just said, is that can you say that businesses become unethical because of consumers? How many of you feel that competition is? This requires a slightly bigger debate to fully appreciate and understand it once for all. How many of you think that competition is good? Raise your hands. Let's be participative, be thinking animals. Why is competition bad? Some of you have not raised your hand. Anyone who thinks competition is bad? Yes, cutthroat competition. Yes, how is it bad? In such, so you may say that when there is cutthroat business, सबसे पहले ethics will be thrown out of the window. You are very correct. So for this, overall, just listen once, you understand this once for all. See, in the evolution of human society, we just talked about one of the stages that came was agricultural revolution, where we settled, made fence, created private property. And then much later, we had the industrial revolution, where for the first time, what happened? Machines came, and for the very first time, women would come to a factory, but in numbers, but the women would finally come after the First World War when the typewriter would be invented. And that was the first time when women would enter formal workplace. Before that, industrial revolution ke baad, it was informal factories. Now, for the very first time, it would change the society forever. How did it change? It created factories where people could go and work, and in essence, what would they get? Wages, which means money economy is being born. Before that, how do you trade things? If you want something, you exchange, barter system. It would promote money economy and for the very first time. And because this is suddenly what happened, there were the factory owners who got rich and the factory workers who were being exploited. And at this point, what happened is, now the biggest problem this was, Marx would come with the Communist Manifesto, and they would also write, what was the other essay? Das Kapital. So what happened is, for the very first time, they brought this study that this whole world or this whole society is not just classes or anything. It is just two classes, that is the rich and the poor, broadly. And the workers and the owners of means of production, that is land, labor, and capital. Now, for the very first time, the big problem was that ones who were working, the owners of these factories, they were taking risk, raising capital, making people work, delivering products, engaging in exploration in high seas, sending a ship, take what is called bush shirts, and from this and go to India, and you take 1 lakh pieces and try to sell, and ship sinks, then you're gone. If it does well, then you are rich. This is how. So they did not find a moral support for their work. And then somebody came, who's known as the father of capitalism. Who's the father of capitalism? Last bench? Adam Smith. So he first, for the very first time, he came with a seminal work which is known as The Wealth of Nations. And its biggest contribution was one line. He said, उसके पहले तक there was no moral support for the capitalists who were taking risk building companies. There was no moral support because they did not know. Everybody thought they were greedy and running after money. So he gave a very good theory. He says that greed is good. And he said, he gave the example in his work that if there is a cobbler who makes very good shoes, then what will he do? He will sell shoes. And if people like the quality of shoes, they will buy it. And when they buy it, slowly there will be demand. To meet that demand, what will he do? He will hire more cobblers from his village and they will start working there. And if the demand is more, he is not able to supply, then to meet it, what he will do? He'll increase the prices. He will increase the prices because there's too much demand. At this point, he will keep increasing the prices until one of the workers, cobblers working with him, he will say that it is too expensive and there is so much profit. Why don't I set up a shop? And across the street, he will set up a shop. And now he starts. And what is his idea? He says, I'll give you the same shoe, but I'll give it for less. Now, therefore, what will happen? And if he gives for less, then people will start going to the less. This is what is known as competition. What did Adam Smith call it? He called it invisible hand of the market. I repeat, he called it invisible hand of the market. इसको एक बार समझ लो, so you'll understand all of capitalism. So he said this is how competition will work in capitalism. Of course, then what is crony capitalism? So crony capitalism is something where people who have, so in this capitalism, what happens? There is a free and fair market. Anybody can set up a shop and they can start providing goods and services, and there is competition. That competition will ensure that the prices will not increase. So who will benefit? Consumers will benefit, isn't it? And if this person wants, then he may increase his, for example, to command a better price, he has to increase the quality. This is what will happen. Now, second thing, so he said that it is fair if people are earning money doing something like this. And he said that there is no need of the state to regulate it. If somebody does any hanky-panky, then the market has the wisdom and the market will take care of it. So there's second thing in the wealth of nations, primarily his argument was that he said that for large parts of human history, we have felt that wealth is a zero-sum game. This is world's wealth and it is divided among different people. So he famously said it was believed that until the arrival of the industrial revolution, or till that time, he famously said that it is believed that the king of France can only become rich by stealing from the king of England. I repeat, he said that till now we knew that if the king of France has to become rich, then what he has to do? He has to loot or steal from the king of England. But then he gave one thing. He said wealth creation is not zero-sum game. He said wealth creation is not zero-sum game. He said in the wealth of nations, he said his line is that the wealth of nations is continuously increasing. जिसको GDP कह रहे हो अभी तुम लोग, है ना? He said, or even money in circulation, you can say, it is continuously increasing. Second thing he said is, therefore, he said that because the wealth of nations is continuously increasing, therefore, to become rich, the king of France does not have to loot the king of England. Then what should he do? If he says that if you have a share of the pie, then what should you focus on? It is not that you have to think about taking somebody. So you simply try to increase the size of the pie. You try to increase the size of the pie and you will have much more. And he said, this is what is happening. And therefore, he said, so this gave moral underpinning to capitalism. Because it was always felt that if somebody is getting rich, then he is getting rich at the cost of by looting from other people. But then this, when he gave this studies, this idea, this is completely changed and it gave moral underpinnings to capitalism. Otherwise, capitalism is an idea and all of industrial revolution would have been challenged. And social revolutions may have overthrown this development in human history. But it was able to sustain because the moral support came from Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations. And this he said, so therefore, now what happens? He said, very good, that's a competition, but doesn't consumers do it? You are very right. This may happen. So you will read this international ethics you will be given this topic, whereas you will read about protectionism and trade. So one of the challenges, as somebody said, is competition is not good. So what happens is competition, when there is intense competition, the problem is ethics is thrown out the window. The second challenge is that it will to reduce price. How does companies ensure profitability? Either by reducing the cost or by increasing the price or reducing the cost that comes. Now, if there is intense competition, is there opportunity to increase the price? Then what you will do, you'll try to reduce the cost. So that will it not come to a cost to labor rights? हाँ बोलो. Yes, very good. So he said that because of this competition, there will be efforts to either increase the price. No, I'm not saying that. So what happens is you either increase the price or you reduce the cost. So one of the ways how you will do it is reduce the cost is by innovation, such as, for example, adoption of AI machines, completely reduce. But more than that, but one challenge that will happen is that until that innovation somebody is doing, there will be struggles. A lot of things will be based on labor rights violation will happen. For example, you see that right now, one of the things that has happened is all these companies such as Italy and all, their fashion capitals, and what they do is their manufacturing of clothes is happening in Dhaka, Bangladesh. We have lost the race to Bangladesh as of now. So Dhaka. And what happened is just last decade, a very bad incident happened where a building collapsed. And for example, if this was a hosiery unit in Dhaka, how would people be sitting here? We would be having 2 floors just in this. Because this is expensive. If the rents double here, then we may have 2 floors with students sitting in. Right? Because the rents are too expensive. So this has happened. Right? So think of it. Now people are sitting there and working, the building collapsed, and there was the visual image of a man and a woman hugging, trying to save themselves from the building collapse. And that was reverberated across the world, to which point it was said that now Italy has a policy that you can call something made in Italy even if one component is made in Italy. Even if one component. So for example, you have gotten your whole Zara dress, for example, made in Italy, and you just add a zip here and you write made in Italy and you can sell it as a premium and rich people will buy it. Right? After that, this reform started, the call happening that you need to have ethical sourcing, which means if you're getting your manufacturing done in Dhaka, you go and see how the working conditions are there. Dhaka will bid the lowest compared to India. India में level of standard of living is increasing. ढाका स्टिल पुअर. और जहां पाकिस्तान में और अफगानिस्तान में किसी रेट में करा लो, काम ही नहीं है वहां पर, कुछ भी करने को तैयार हो जाएंगे. वो कहेंगे इसमें तो 3 फ्लोर बना लेंगे हम. राइट? कोई है ना, वंस यू एंटर इट यू विल बी क्रॉलिंग, यू विल नॉट बी इवन सिटिंग. हाँ. Yes, that's the exploitation of work laborers, and sometimes it may happen when there is intense competition. So sometimes what happens is intense competition leads to labor rights violations. Sometimes what happens is intense competition will lead to dilution in quality to reduce cost. You have to accept, you said that they will innovate, but there will be a point at which point no innovation is possible. Think of the iPhone, right? They are not able to do anything. समझ नहीं आ रहा है अब क्या दे दें. अब वही पुराना आईफोन वापस आएगा और कहेगा द न्यू आईफोन विच इज हैविंग, यही मॉडल बदल के चल रहा है 2-3 टाइम से, है ना? And it cannot be done quickly as well. Yes. And secondly, if an innovation is done, and if there is the last resort will be use of machines to cut the cost, right? तो Ned Ludd would oppose. There will be said Luddite movement शुरू होगा उसके बाद कि भाई मशीन होगी तो लोग कहाँ काम करेंगे. I give you that statement that day. L&T chief, he made this statement that we are not able to find workers or laborers in India to do construction work, isn't it? So he said that we are not able to find laborers because you are having 2 GB data, and Food Security Act is there. So people take the payment and then they go home. Then they say, "अब काम नहीं करेंगे, reel बनाएंगे, घर रहेंगे." And he said that if this goes on, then we'll be using 3D printing in construction because we are not able to get people. So what will happen? There will be further unemployment, right? So Yuval Harari says that in a matter of 2 or 3 decades, you can expect that humans will be of no use except only one vote, that is their political rights and votes. You can soon expect a universal basic income. You had a big decision this last month, I think, when Prime Minister Modi said that 10,000 will be given to 75 lakh women. Big number. Now, if once this is legitimized, what will stop the state governments from state political parties to make such? If this is going, and this will happen globally, not just in India. It will happen globally. Last class में क्या होगा? सब कहेंगे कि अमीर गरीब सबको छोड़ो, सबको पैसे देंगे, सब अवार्ड देने, काम लेकिन नहीं दे पाएंगे. So that is how the bleak future that we are looking at. All right. Yes, ethics versus. हाँ बोलो बच्चे. Okay, हाँ हाँ बोलो. हाँ हाँ so she has a question. She says that in Hind Swaraj, he has opposed the setting up of industries and all. All right, so are we not? So, in essence, that is why Gandhi is not very clear with his philosophy, but he's judged by his critics to be pro capitalist. There are reasons for it. With respect to this doubt, I will tell you what his position was. So, it is not that for people who are pro capitalist will support machines. That is not like it. They will simply support inequitable payment for different kinds of work, which means that they will also be okay with accumulation of wealth. What Gandhi's position in this matter was that he said that there are poor people, है ना? So if we have a lot of factories and all, then that will create. So he was not in favor of big factories. For that matter, he was not in favor of large organized societies. And his position in this matter was that we should have tokri banana, this what is called vocational training, and a small industry vocational training. And in this, you will have a question. It has come also that difference between Gandhi and Tagore. No, Gandhi, Ambedkar was already asked. I asked in AWFG. It came the same year. ठीक है ये हाँ क्योंकि वो बचा हुआ था गांधी टैगोर डिबेट सो व्हेन ही सेड समथिंग लाइक दिस Tagore wrote a letter to him. You are saying that for poor people, vocational training should be done. What is vocational training? टोकरी बनाना, सूप बना लो, तो ये हैट बनाओ, है ना, ये सब झोला बना लो किसी का, मतलब सैक एंड ऑल, ये सब करते रहो. तो he said that how you will, means you are saying that these, so Tagore said that why should the poor learn this? Why should not the rich learn this? For rich, you are saying that go and study in English medium school. And for the poor, you are saying that you make tokri. And also he said that how this idea, because whole country follows you, how this idea exactly will lead to India's progress and modernization. He questioned this. That was so that was a primary Gandhi Tagore debate. And he felt that when Gandhi is saying that as a moral leader, he's saying that you use the charkha and wear khadi and all, then he said that India will progress by everybody making their own cloth here, setting up big industries where you'll be making clothes for the rest of the world. Already Manchester of the East, which city was there? Manchester, Ahmedabad, Surat. So we were doing very well with textiles, and now we are completely destroyed. So to compete in that textile sector, we will have to have large setup industries, and where Gandhi was preaching small scale. So in that, so I'll एक दो चीज़ और भी है आपको बताऊंगा, ठीक है. In coming classes we'll again discuss why he was criticized like that. And whatever is being told, please listen carefully. Question आएगा तो जरूरी नहीं कि यही टॉपिक से आएगा. ये क्वेश्चन आ चुका है गांधी वर्सेस टैगोर, and you just need 2 lines of knowledge in this. You don't need to know. If you know these 2 lines, you will be able to write a good answer. Okay, so this is the difference in vocational training. Gandhi's position was clear. He wants vocational training for the poor, and Tagore said that you will, word was, perpetuate the poverty of the poor by telling them to make tokri and soot katna, weaving their own cloth. They will always remain poor because they have not acquired. And said that, and when he said that mother tongue mein education hona chahiye, so Tagore was said, okay, I'm fine with that, but English education should be there because that will be their passport to the outer world, and their ability to read books in international literature padhenge, their minds will open. All right. Yes. Now ethics versus professional competence. This is a question. Yes. Write a question. Integrity without knowledge is weak and useless. Integrity without knowledge is weak and useless. Attempt this question and we'll have a. Integrity without knowledge is weak and useless. Knowledge without integrity is dangerous and dreadful. Knowledge without integrity is dangerous and dreadful. What do you understand by the statement? Explain your stand with illustrations from modern day. All right, 2014 का question है ये, again repeated हुई है. Just write this answer, everyone. Let us try to write in 7 minutes. जो समझ में आता है लिखो. No problem. You have to go first. Do I have this? अरे यहाँ लिखा हुआ था. Yes, this question. Whatever you can write, young lady. Try to write. Whatever you can write, write. If you don't know, then you write what is the meaning of that statement. पहले समझाओ first part में. एक कॉफी करवा देंगे. बोलो. Okay. Those who are having problem understanding what is the meaning of statement, it is the same as in what way it is important to be ethical along with professionally competent. एक ही बात है. Yes, time is up. Anybody who's done? Whatever you've written, yes, show me copy. दिखाओ. All of you need more practice. I mean, the first thing is that what is the meaning of this statement? How many of you understood what the meaning of this question is? Raise your hands. Yes, young man. What is the meaning of this? Okay, young lady, you tell me. It is simply saying knowledge. If you are having knowledge, skills, competence, you are very good. You know how to do your work. It is very good. But if you do not have integrity, then there is a problem. Integrity, है ना, read, the knowledge without integrity is dangerous. No matter how good you are at your work, but if you lack integrity, then it is bad. It is dangerous for you as well as for the organization. On the other hand, you only have integrity, but you don't have knowledge. मैं पूछूंगा आप में क्या गुण है? You know any PPT, Excel, Word? बोले सर ये सब नहीं आता. I said what do you know? सर आता तो ये सब नहीं, but I'll learn. I said why should I hire you? सर ईमानदार हूँ बहुत. तो कुछ नहीं आता तो फिर ईमानदारी ही रहोगे तुम. And integrity without knowledge is weak, which means you are having all the moral qualities but you're not having any skill set, then that is weak. And knowledge without integrity, you have all the know-how but you don't have integrity, you have an evil brain, then it is dangerous. What do you stand with statement? Explain your stand with illustrations from modern day context. In what way it is important to be ethical along with being professionally competent? You are professionally competent, that is very good, but if you don't have ethical competence, then it will not be good for you or for the organization as for the society. The world is full of such people, right? Rise and fall of unicorn builder AI. What was the name of this person, builder AI? Sachin Duggal. So what this builder AI, what they announced was they got $1 billion valuation. On what grounds? They said that we have built a platform, you just give a code, and the platform will build an app. So if you want to build a messaging app, you log on to Builder AI, tell what you want, and app will be built. And they got a $1 billion valuation. Then what happened? Later they came to know that they have hired 700 engineers in India, and they are making the code and they are delivering. From $1 billion to 0 rupees. End of story. Chanda Kochar, fall for the banking sector titan. Everything was good. You know, she may have ended up with the Bharat Ratna in our country. Why? Because she was the poster of banking, poster girl for banking. I mean, today you are using these branches, and just before this, you are from a UPI era, but before this, for the very first time, during our time, we got the ATM era, which was a big revolution. Before that, what was happened? Everybody had to go to a bank to withdraw money. It was for the very first time that ICICI Bank very rapidly issues debit cards. And they had ATMs everywhere and you could withdraw money. पहले digital transaction did not. Paytm के पहले का world देख लो. ठीक है? So it was a very big thing, and she had suddenly, I mean, she had made a decade or 2 decade leap in Indian banking. Anyway, Indian banking is very advanced. If you go to the West, you will realize, you think of it ना, UPI जिस country में नहीं है वो financially backward है या नहीं? I mean, most of you must be using UPI, and you go to Europe and you go to US, they are not having UPI. You will feel कि कितना backward है, Africa type you will start feeling. right? So therefore, she was a celebrated banker. She may have ended up with a Bharat Ratna for sure. And she had just made a decade leap. She gave leap. She made ICICI Bank so advanced that every other bank had to catch up. And then what happened is she could not manage what is called management of ethics. There was the problem. Ethical management was there in ICICI Bank. They were treating the customers and everyone very well. There was no fraud, any money deducted. You get it bank, you call their call center, everything was working bank. But what happened is she gave a loan to a related party and then wrote it off. It's just like I'm giving a money to my relative and then saying, okay, that loan went bad and I have written it off. Okay? So this is an example of what? You have all the skill sets. You know how to build a bank. You know how to build India's largest private bank, but you do not have the moral compass is not in right place. Or for example, the rise and fall of Nirav Modi. Which brand was he owning? No, Punjab National. Which brand? Popular brand hai. Yes, Gitanjali. Have you heard of it? Yes or no? Board lakha dekha hoga kahin. So it was it was a good jewelry brand, good valuation, everything. But what happened is did fraud in borrowing. So you know how to build build an international fashion brand, not an easy task. And then you have the rise and how India's Bajus went from startup star to facing insolvency. Clear cases of these people who were built. What was the last valuation, highest valuation of Bajus? $22 billion. No Indian startup ever achieved. Forget Zomato, Tomato, सबको एक साथ तरफ ले लो और इसको एक तरफ ले लो. ठीक है, Paytm ये सब. This is the valuation that they got. They were signing up whom? Messi and Shah Rukh Khan. Messi in the West and Shah Rukh Khan in the East. इससे ऊपर कोई नहीं है. What was the purpose? You made it into a global brand. उसके बाद what happens from 22 billion to 0 rupees? Lack of ethics, integrity, mismanagement. On they are accused of malafide. Anything can be true. Or for example, the rise and fall and escape of Vijay Mallya. You read his old interview. And then they said that you are compared to President Trump of United States of America. So Vijay Mallya, they give the mic to him. He says, for one, I can tell you that I'm not going broke like Trump. And just 10 years later, Donald Trump is the president and he is broke. So never make such statements. Right? Anyone or ex-SEBI chief Madhabi Butch, not given farewell in SEBI. Right? Very successful in the financial world. Made SEBI chairperson. First woman to become SEBI chairperson, but unable to manage conflict of interests. Unable to manage conflict of interest, which also means disclosing the interest. That, okay, I have such and such investments. So this is all these are cases of having. So I'm not able to, I was seeing your copies, I was not able to understand why you are not understanding the question. What is the problem? Understanding the question. Not writing the answer is different, but question क्यों नहीं समझ में आ रहा था आप लोगों को? I mean, anybody had a different interpretation? Why? So you have to read very carefully. It simply means it's a classical question. And it has been, so if I have to answer this question, I have given you 2 quotations even from the pre-YQs. I may begin with this or I may end with this. Remember, when I give a quote in the introduction, I can simply give a quote and say that it is said by this, or even keep it, do not attribute a source. When I put this in the conclusion, I will write APJ Kalam famously said that excellence without ethics is a recipe for disaster. I'm going to say that. Or in the conclusion, if I say that, in concluding paragraphs. Similarly, this quote by Warren Buffett is also the same question repeated. What is the second line? You repeat after me, all of you. In looking for people to hire you, look for 3 things. Integrity, intelligence, energy. If you don't have the first, the other 2 will kill you. Integrity नहीं और बहुत तेज आदमी को लेकर आ चुके हो, तो क्या होगा? He'll eat you up. Is this clear? So this question has been asked 4 times. So this question simply says, how will your structure be? Or let us just discuss this topic itself. This topic says, ethics versus professional intelligence, which is more important. Also, I was expecting somebody to show some brightness in the copy. I have told you about the lame man and blind man. Likh ke diya. Why nobody is putting in? Anybody who put there in their answer? Anybody? Yes, it's okay. Anybody? What will you compare to lame man and blind man? Iske upar batao mujhe. Integrity will be what and knowledge will be what? Integrity will be, knowledge is like walking, having the skill set. So it will be, yes, it will be like the blind man who knows how to walk but cannot see. करना क्या उसको नहीं पता, किधर जाना उसको नहीं पता. Knowledge is something where you have the skill sets. It is, and integrity is like the lame man who knows but cannot do. He can see. Lame man can see but cannot walk. राइट मुझे सब पता है कि ऐप कैसा बनेगा. अच्छा कोडिंग आती है ना, वो नहीं आता. ये तो ऐप तो मैं व्हाट्सएप से भी बढ़िया बना लूंगा. दैट इज व्हाट इज, है ना. यू आर हैविंग integrity without knowledge. You are having the vision what is to be done, you know that, but knowledge or professional competence you are not having, you know. And knowledge with, so see what is this whole debate. This whole debate is government PSUs. Bilkul bilkul, that is the problem in government PSUs, that you have very smart people, very sharp people. All right, yes. So in this topic, it is having simple expectation. Is one is introduction. I want you to introduce. You can begin with a quote. You can begin with a definition. You can say that ethics is this, or morality is this, or integrity is this, whatever you want to say. You can say this, or you can give an example. I have given you some example. What is the example? You can give right from Vijay Mallya to Chanda Kochar. That Chanda Kochar, just a decade ago, Chanda Kochar would be the poster woman for banking in, है ना, leading as a chairperson of ICICI Bank, but her failure to manage a simple conflict of interest led to her fall from grace. This goes on to show that knowledge in the absence of integrity is dangerous. Can we say something like that? She brought disgrace not to herself but also to the Indian banking sector. Achha, these were important. Why? Because first time you were having a woman lead a bank, then you want them to win. Do you see how much doors it will open? And then you are having such problem. Right? Or even with Madhavi Booch, when a woman is heading SEBI for the first time, from what I remember, and then you have this problem. Now the doors are closed for women. At least the government would be assured कि SEBI chief I'm making a woman, integrity will be assured. बाकी हो सकता है थोड़ा 19 काम हो, less work may be done, but integrity. Now you are not assured of integrity. Now you'll see how it will be difficult to climb to that high a chair. Right? Very challenging, isn't it? So therefore, you can give any such example. You can begin your answer. Then you can say that, Hana, what you'll say, ethics versus professional competence. You'll say, which is more important? If you have to choose, in the end, you have to choose one. Which will be more important? Not because you are studying ethics, but actually ethics important. So you'll either choose ethics or you'll choose both. Are we all agreeing on this? Yes or no? Fair enough. So how we'll draw the structure? So your later parties, you are going to choose ethics is more important. So you will begin with what? Don't begin with ethics is more important. You say, yes, professional competence, because you will do your B1 should be B1, first part should be professional competence is very important, because then you will say B2. However, integrity is also important, and then you will say that why integrity is important, and you'll conclude by saying that if you have professional competence and integrity is not there, then there'll be a challenge, and you will end the answer. In the end, you'll say that this is the structure. The first is professional competence is important. You will give reason, you will give justification, you will give example, whatever you want to give you there under it. Then you will say, however, professional competence in absence of integrity, or integrity is also important, or because your final position is this one. So you'll say this, and you will give some reasons why integrity is important, justification, example, and then you will either say that integrity without this. Or I have also given you another phrase with lame man, blind man. Anybody remembers? Which phrase? Indian Constitution. I told you there are, when you have to choose between a binary. In social sciences, you will always get a binary, means ye ki wo. Middle path, you will always say. So there I told you that you will choose that the Madhya Marga of Buddhism. Okay, fairly, it is not the best to use in this answer. Or you say the golden mean of Aristotle. Okay? Whatever is in the Western philosophy, we have in Indian philosophy also. Everything that is in West, we have in Indian philosophy except political philosophy. There we have not thought that much. लेकिन बाकी चीज़ों में Indian philosophy ने काफ़ी depth है. Then there is another one which I said. Anybody remembers? Nobody in the class? Yes, two wheels of a chariot. Why nobody is remembering? I have made you write it down. Two wheels of a chariot. Integrity and professional competence are like the two wheels of a chariot. Both of them are important for professional and personal and professional growth as well as organizational growth. Yes or no? तो क्यों मिस कर रहे हो? है ना? So therefore, you can justify few things saying something like professional competence is important. Why is professional competence important? Everybody knows this. Or you can say competence is important because to achieve desired goals, पहले तो काम ही नहीं होगा अगर competence नहीं. To achieve desired goals, है ना? To achieve desired goals, professional competence is needed both in individual and in organization. It is needed both in whom? Person plus organization. ये दोनों professional competence है to survive. Yes, in the marketplace. Business is extreme, है ना? And they are needed for professional competence is extremely important for productivity. Otherwise दिन भर बैठे और एक भी आंसर नहीं लिखा जा रहा है ना? It is needed for productivity, है ना? Innovation and ensuring outputs. Otherwise outputs will not come. Professional competence is also needed to create culture of excellence. मतलब इसी ऐसी कंपनी में पड़े जाओगे जहां किसी को काम नहीं आता, सब बैठकर दिन भर चाय समोसा खा रहे हैं, जो कि होगा जीवन में कई, है ना? तो बहुत लगेगा कि कहां फंस गए. So if you have, but we have one smart person in the group, you will see there will be a culture of excellence, है ना? So you'll say that, है ना? Now, in the second part of the body, you will end up saying, now you have to push for ethics, which is your true position. That ये सब होने के बावजूद, if you don't have ethics, then there is a problem, है ना? So you can say that, है ना? Or you can have a second part saying that, on the other hand, you'll say ethics is important. Ethics is important too. Why is ethics is important? Just write 3 points. Ethics is important for what? Yes, for long-term sustainability, for the individual as well as the organization. Second, ethics is important because it helps build trust. And third is, ethics is important, है ना, to secure compliance, legal or regulatory compliance. Ethics is important as it ensures also what? Self-regulation. Most important. Why don't you guys as IAS aspirants just go drink and make merry? जैसे कि थोड़ा सर घर से पैसे लिए हैं तो let me behave ethically. If you don't have ethics, then self-regulation will be a challenge or not. That sense of morality will hit you from behind. कि क्या कर रहे हो? पढ़ने आए हो या मस्ती करने आए हो, right? Ethics is important. Now at this point, you will see that integrity, or sorry, and then what I'm expecting is, I'm expecting at least this diagram. Integrity, and this is knowledge, competence, PPT, Excel, जो डालना है डाल लो, ठीक है? Knowledge or competence, and integrity is, you can integrity, moral uprightness, You can divide this into 4 quadrant. When you write the answer, I expect you knowing that this diagram exists is different and making this diagram is different. So banana thoda. This is orange color is yes competence इन दोनों में हाई है और इन दोनों में competence low. Is this clear? This is the competence graph. है ना? And this is the integrity. The higher you are, you're more having higher integrity. Here you are having less integrity. Very good. Now let us make the integrity. है ना? Let me change the color of this. Some people will get confused. इसको गेरुए रंग से कर देते हैं. Competence. This means higher integrity. This one will be higher integrity or low integrity? Very good. This quadrant and this one lower. Very good. So broadly, if you see, it is down. This is high integrity plus high knowledge. Right. This is low null. Low integrity. High knowledge. Let me make it high knowledge and low integrity. This is इंटीग्रिटी भी लो है और ऐसे हैं कुछ बच्चे कि सर पढ़ा भी नहीं है और चीटिंग भी करने का प्लान है. उसके बाद जो वर्ड है सिलेबस का वर्ड है वही पढ़ के समझ नहीं आएगी लिखा क्या है ना. मतलब चीटिंग करने के लिए भी थोड़ी नॉलेज चाहिए. सर कुछ कांट लिखा था समझ नहीं आ रहा था KNT मुझे है ना. तो मैंने सोचा कि कोई गलत थिंकर है तो मैंने उसको कुछ और कर दिया है ना. मुझे लगा कि कैंट को कांट गलत इंग्लिश लिख रहा है तो यही दिक्कत हो जाएगी कि चीटिंग भी कर रहे हो और एकदम नहीं पढ़ के गए हो. दिस इज हाई इंटीग्रिटी मोरालिटी एज वेल एज हाई नॉलेज कॉम्पिटेंस जो कहना है. दिस इज लो नॉलेज और कॉम्पिटेंस and it is high integrity. So that is why you will have a question and it is an incurring thing and you will expect a question on this. And Anil Swarup has given a statement also in this matter that integrity is alone is not enough. One must also work. Okay, so this criticism is of sometimes some officers where you will come to know that this person has come. अब क्या करेंगे ये सिर्फ ईमानदारी करेंगे लेकिन काम नहीं करेंगे. ऐसे जिलाधिकारी अब तो the world has changed, a lot of pressure. But when we were young, there were collectors who were only honest, which means that he is a collector to sadak vadak nahi banegi. Why? Because he is always worried if somebody will make money. And therefore, he will never approve any project. And now the whole district is suffering because of that one person. It used to happen. These days, there is democratic pressure. Ab ye sab, you don't have so many whims and fancies. But earlier days was very different. The collector could simply stall everything happening in the district. वो कह रहा है बिजली का पोल लगाना. उसने कहा कि 1200 में पोल है. मैं कहेगा मैं 600 में दिला दूंगा. उसी में लड़ाई चल जाएगी. वो कहेगा आई विल नॉट अप्रूव द फाइल. ऑलवेज वरीड दैट समबडी विल मेक मनी. That is a private corporation. They will make money. They will pay employees. They will have the money that is needed to pay back to the loan. All of these things are there. So this problem will always be there. Right? Now tell me which is the most desirable. Yes, most desirable. ऐसा एम्प्लॉयज मिल जाए तो कोई भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन चमक जाए. बट इट इज टू आइडियल. ऐसा बंदा मिलेगा नहीं. डिफिकल्ट टू फाइंड. सबसे बेकार क्या है अब ये बताओ कि काम आता है न काम आता है ना. ईमान बोला कि ठीक है तुम गार्ड की नौकरी कर लो, उसमें भी कुछ चोरी करके चला गया है ना. दिक्कत है. राइट. सो दिस इज मोस्ट यूजलेस. है ना, एक काम दिया कि गार्ड रख लो तुम, चौकीदारी कर लो तुम, देख लो कि देखते रहो कि कोई आ जाए, उसमें भी धोखा कर दिया, राइट. देन नेक्स्ट इज हाई knowledge and low integrity. So this is what is known as evil genius. तेज है लेकिन कुछ न कुछ कर देगा, ये अश्नीर ग्रोवर है ना? कि मैंने ये कर दिया वो कर दिया. यस, हाँ. Which quadrant will be most? यार ये तो यही है, यही है. Most thinkers, predominant thinkers of our current times are saying that human population will be rendered useless. दो तीन काम बचे हैं. एक वॉर हो सकता था, ये मान के चलो in 10 years you will have, UN will pass a resolution that it is very unethical to use humans in war. And any country using so is committing a genocide. Whereas we bombing the hell out of them is not genocide. ये हो जाएगा 10 years में. तुम्हारे in your lifetime you'll see that using humans for war will be a, and then say that you buy our robots instead, let them fight. Which is why you will have to make that robot in India. Otherwise, you have an entire army of robots, and then you are at war with the ones who has made them. So with one signal, they'll disable. Like we have the problem with GPS right now, that we cannot have a war. You cannot fight a war against America because at least, or against Americans' desire, for the simple reason that the whole technology is there. तुम्हारा GPS ही गया तो फिर your whole entire armory is kept like that, right? And this is low knowledge competence but high in integrity. What should we write here? No. He's trainable and useful. Most useful. This person is the most useful. Not just for teaching, it is in reality also. Why? Do you have any questions? Why should not be like, why I'm saying that? It is in truth. In truth, I mean, we run a foreign residential coaching, so there will be somebody very bright, but he will not listen. So in the beginning, things will look very good. But by the time the exam will come, you will see that the less bright person, but who simply follows the plan, they will end up doing well. We had like 100 people were there, 80, 85 people wrote the prelims. So we have Indian Economic Service rank 1 from there. Mohit is his name. Economics optional के बच्चे जानते होंगे. Last week result came. वहाँ पर क्या है कि दिन भर पढ़ते रहते हैं सब, मतलब 1-2 बजे तक लाइब्रेरी में. It's a small campus, so you are like, everybody knows everyone. So you're like prelims के लिए especially it's good, like it's like if you've done SFG then you know there's bloodbath. Anybody has done SFG here? हाँ, तो उसका समझ लो कि डबल ट्रिपल, उसके कारण सबके नंबर भी आओगे, देखोगे कितने आए. तो पहले 60-70, किसी के 30 भी थे. You'll see they'll end up getting 120-130. सबका फॉरेस्ट. और फॉरेस्ट we get result every year. Rank 1 we get. We don't do anything for forest simply because of SFG sub. And Kanika and how do we know? We know them through that. This year I think rank 1 is Kanika and no? Kanika. हाँ, उसके पहले भी हर साल. Anyway, so you'll always see this. In reality also this is what happens. So this diagram you make, and then now in your answer you write, this knowledge / competence is important because, and then you say ethics is important because of this reason, and then final conclusion you will say that knowledge without ethics is not only useless but also what? Yes, it is harmful. Knowledge without ethics. This is the third part where you will be concluding your answer. Because if there is absence of ethics, you have knowledge but absence of ethics, then what happens is, the first problem that comes with it is that it corrupts the moral fabric of the organization. Corrupts the moral fabric of the organization. You are a collector, you are running the district. One deputy collector who is corrupt under you. Now we'll see how everybody will behave. वो उनका रोल मॉडल बन जाएगा, है ना. ही करप्ट्स द मोरल फैब्रिक ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, है ना. कॉजेज लॉन्ग टर्म लॉस ऑफ reputation and trust. Causes long term reputation and trust. You know. Then third, knowledge in the absence of ethics may lead to violation of legal compliances which may threaten what future of organization. And for this reason they may end up doing more harm than good to themselves. All right, so what is our final position? You can choose either that. In the end, you can choose, you have two final positions. One final position is, tell me what are the final positions, young lady? So you may say that while, so you are going, you already you made that diagram and you're saying that while it is most useful, but it is the ideal one, it is difficult to find. You will say that what is most useful in the end? What did we say? Which one is most useful? Yes, let's solve. Why? Because you will, what is the reason? So you will say that why? Because competence or knowledge, competence, yes, can be provided or acquired through what? Training. Competence can be acquired through training, but it is very difficult. Yes, especially the later in life. Very difficult to inculcate ethics. And you can throw some examples also. You give the example of, again, these are classical examples. They are not old, they are classical. Rajat Gupta. Classical. These are why this debate would come in the first place. Rajat Gupta, first Indian born head of McKinsey. First Indian born head of McKinsey, IT alumni. Right? He was the poster boy of Indian American, how Indian American should be. Right? And what happened? Accused of insider training. Accused of insider trading and jailed for it. The fall of Rajat Gupta, first Indian born head of McKinsey. Then Ramalingam Raju, Satyam Computers. And in recent times, you know, you can give the example of Builder AI by Sachin Duggal, which faked AI capabilities. What did it do? Faked AI capabilities. And what was the impact? From 1.5 billion valuation to bankruptcy. From 1.5 billion valuation to bankruptcy. तेज दिमाग था, लेकिन जहां लगा AI बनाने की जगह कहां लगा लिया? इन्वेस्टर को बेवकूफ कैसे बनाए कि हाँ सारा हमारा कोडिंग सॉफ्टवेयर करता है, AI बना लिया हमने. पता चला कि यहाँ 700 इंजीनियर बिठाए हुए हैं इसने. उधर से प्रॉम्प्ट किया, इधर से इंजीनियर बैठकर कोड बनाते हैं. कुछ लोग के आइडियाज आ रहे हैं, ये भी हो सकता है. Right? You can give examples of Ravan, who was a learned Pandit, but fell from grace. The greatest warrior, learned Pandit, despite being one of the most learned Pandit, fell from grace. Why? Had arrogance and lust, stealing others person's wife. Karn, great warrior of time. Karn, the great warrior of his time. But accused of being a co-conspirator in the Chirharan of Draupadi. In the Chirharan of Another example is, ठीक है, I think that's all. Yes, let us बोलो. Yes, 7 sense toolkit का इस्तेमाल करो. Toolkit में दिया हुआ knowledge without. Yes, in the toolkit 7 sense it is given. And what quotation also you can use? Quotation number, take a look at the quotation that you've been given. Quotation number, take a look. Quotation number 7. What is quotation number 7? Ethics is knowing the difference between what you have the right to do and what is. Yes. This is what you have the right to do is what is law, and what is right to do is what is ethics. It will go there also. In quotation number 8, in matters of conscience, the law of majority has no place. Where you will put? Quotation number 8, where you can put this? Yes, when law conflicts with ethics. And you in case study, this question is asked that you have gotten an order to undertake anti-encroachment. There are poor people. As a young officer, you are feeling that if these poor people, their houses are broken, it is winter time, what they will have. But on the other hand, you are having that pressure that it is a judicial order, government order. So there is the conflict between individual feeling of compassion and official duty. So in the end, if at all you make the choice that I will not do the duty, like for example, you decide that, sir, I will decide not to break the houses. Depends on whatever is your choice. All choices are correct, as I said. Then you will have to quote this in the conclusion. That you will have to justify your position, no? So you will write about Gandhi's talisman. One argument you will, and you can also quote that Mahatma Gandhi famous. It is for this that Mahatma Gandhi said that in matters of conscience, the law of majority has no place. The case study will say that all your officers are saying कि जाकर कर लो, order है, colleagues भी कह रहे हैं implement the order. You are under pressure, but you don't want to do it. अंदर से अंतरात्मा की आवाज, you are not able to do it because you don't feel like. So you will, what reason you will give? You will quote this Mahatma Gandhi, है ना? Then yes, lady, which quotation you said? Yes, 15 you can want to use. A man without ethics is a wild beast loosed upon this world, Albert Camus. In this, ethics versus professional competence. Any other thing? You can also go for 17. Quote number 12. Integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. Okay. Not nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. Very good. All right. Let us do one last question. चलो ज़्यादा time नहीं खींचना. Yes, two wheels of a chariot, lame man and blind man. That is how you start seeing interlinkages. Young lady, you are packing your bags. अच्छा, ठीक है, ठीक है. Ethics versus. Let us do one more topic. Ethics versus politics. Okay, chalo. First, what is politics? Tell me. Anybody has heard politics or they have seen politics around themselves in your class, in your friend circle? You experience politics? What did you feel when somebody did politics around you? Bolo. Is politics is imbalance of power? No, that is not politics. Anybody else? It refers to all the activities. Very good. Write down a line. Chris, very different. I got this in Tata Institute of Social Sciences. My professor taught me this. इसलिए write down a line. Politics. Politics refers to the range of activities. Politics refers to the range of activities undertaken to capture power. What is the purpose of this power? Tell me. Very good. Who is the most powerful person in this class? You. Why? And what is the benefit of this power? In this class, I will set the rules. That is the whole point of being in power. Why do political parties want to capture power? Sometimes it is said that the current discourse, that is the NDA, is able to continuously capture power compared to the UPA led by Congress. So one idea that is given is that this party, they have a certain ideology. And when they want to capture power, they don't just want to enjoy power, they have an agenda. They want to write the rules that govern this country. Whether it is whatever be the case, whether it is RSS or whatever be the case. But on the other hand, it is said that UPA lacks a coherent ideology. They simply want power for powers. I'm just saying this. This is a debate that goes on. So purpose in the definition, write down with the purpose to capturing power, okay, with the purpose of writing the rules that govern us. With the purpose of writing the rules that govern us. That is the single purpose of power. One who has power will write the rules of the game. He will say society aise chalegi. If they want X Rast, they want X Rast. If they want Y Rast, they will have this. All right? Isn't it? Now, ethics and politics, are they compatible? Two views. What will be the first view? Narrow view, not compatible. Narrow view, not compatible. Why are they said to be not compatible? You will write a few lines. They said that politics and power and politics and ethics are not compatible because first argument you can write, politics rewards short-term. Politics rewards short-term gains over long-term integrity. Second, politics is often a zero-sum game. Second, politics rewards short-term or immediate gains over long-term. What is the first point I gave you? Over long-term integrity. So think of it. You want to win elections in Bihar. Either you can build road, sadak, nadi, nahar, nale, school, thana, police, सब करोगे या फिर 10,000 rupees दे दोगे. किससे जीतोगे? 10,000 से जीत जाओगे. Very good. है ना? So in bracket don't write this. ये मत लिखना. You write for example freebies versus, in bracket you write offering freebies versus yes merit goods such as health education. तुम कहोगे मैं अस्पताल बनाऊंगा, स्कूल बनाऊंगा, वो जनता कहेगी मेरे अकाउंट में क्या आएगा, तो तुम क्या करोगे? हम अकाउंट में ही देते हैं, अस्पताल स्कूल नहीं बनाएंगे और जीत भी जाओगे. सो इट इज डिफिकल्ट टू बी एथिकल इन पॉलिटिक्स और नॉट. जैसी प्रजा वैसी है ना, जैसी प्रजा वैसे राजा. राइट. नेक्स्ट, politics is often a zero-sum game. Politics, second, is it's not ethical because politics is often zero-sum game. Second point, where where one party wins at the cost of others. It's like two winners cannot be there. One party wins at the cost of others. Therefore, ethics compromised. Third, you can write ethics sometimes only has instrumental value. Ethics sometimes only has instrumental value. Right, and not sometimes only has instrumental values. Without, sometimes only has instrumental values without substantive reforms. Without substantive reforms. For example, talking about fighting corruption. So you'll say in the election, everybody say we'll fight corruption and all, but you will only talk, we will bring strong Lokpal, but it will not have. So what? Why? How are you using ethics in politics? You're using it only as an instrument to capture power. You are not going to really do something about it. Yes, tokenism. Next, you write down that both Machiavelli in the West, Machiavelli in the West, Machiavelli in the West, in bracket, inverted commas, the prince. Both Machiavelli in the West, in bracket you write the prince. The prince is written by whom? Machiavelli. Both Machiavelli in the West, in bracket you write the prince in inverted commas, so that the reader knows it is. And Kautilya in the East, in bracket you write Arthashastra. है ना? You write celebrated philosophers have preached Sham Dam Dand Bhed in politics as legitimate. Have preached Sham, SHAM, Dam, DM, Dand, Bhed. What is the meaning of this? Sham is persuasion, Dam is money power, Dand is by use of force, and Bhed is division and splitting, है ना? As legitimate tools in pursuit of politics, है ना? उधर भी है, the prince में भी it is. Next, है ना? Ethics is seen to be a private matter. Ethics is seen to be a private matter, fundamentally different from political ethics. Ethics is seen to be a private matter, fundamentally different from political ethics. Next, you write commonly observed. Next argument. Common observation is that electoral politics rewards the corrupt. Electoral politics rewards the corrupt and disincentivizes the honest and upright. You can give some examples, or for example, you can give the example of Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, a man of impeccable integrity. PM Manmohan Singh, former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, a man of impeccable integrity, was known to use the Rajya Sabha and not the Lok Sabha. Dr. Ambedkar would lose Lok Sabha. And as recently as last year, 25 and 24, in 2024, the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, she said that, yes, she said that a party, or I don't stand a chance in Lok Sabha as I don't have enough money to contest election. This shows that the role of money power is so important in politics, and not political uprightness is of no use. Role of money power. You can also give examples of. So ये phase अभी देश का चला गया है, ठीक है? So you will not see it or fully understand it. But similarly, you see that Suresh Kalmadi accused of what? Which scam? Commonwealth Games scam. Yes, and D. Raja accused of 2G scam. They not only got electoral success, but were welcomed by huge crowds when they came out of prison. So you see that how when Suresh Kalmadi accused of Commonwealth Games, he was put in jail. When he came to Pune, then the whole Pune was jammed that day. मतलब 200-400 गाड़ियाँ आई थी, पूरे समर्थक घेरे हुए. और यहाँ पर मनमोहन सिंह रिटायरमेंट का चले जाए तो दिक्कत है ये, ठीक है? है ना? So this, your position, not possible. Second is, you will say, however, और यहां पर पलट कर बोलोगे ethics and politics is not only possible but also, yes, but also desirable. Also desirable. Why? You'll say ethical conduct secures trust in society. Ethical conduct secures trust in society, and trust is important for political success. Trust is important for political success. Second argument is unethical conduct. Unethical conduct. What will it give? Short-term success. But long-term success, only ethical conduct. Give example of Nelson Mandela. कि जेल में रहे लेकिन लास्ट में साउथ अफ्रीका की आजादी दिला दी, है ना, नेल्सन मंडेला. Next argument you give from social media, that in age of social media, and intense scrutiny, तुरंत वीडियो बन जाएगी तुम्हारी. Intense scrutiny. In age of social media and intense scrutiny, है ना, only ethical conduct can survive. Only ethical conduct can survive. All right. Then you write one more. ठीक है. Gandhi, one of the most successful political thinker or political scientist of 20th century, fought and defeated the British Empire. Not through weaponry and tact. मतलब असला बारूद गोला ये सब लाके. Not through weaponry and tact, but through, बताओ क्या tools थे? सत्य and ahimsa. Very good. Then you can give example of Samrat Ashok conquered all of Southeast Asia. Samrat Ashok conquered all of Southeast Asia and Far East. Did he invade them? No. Not through war, but through peace emissaries. शांति दूत भेज के पूरा बुद्धिज्म कन्वर्जन करा दिया, है ना. सम्राट अशोक conquered all of Southeast Asia and Far East, not through war, but through peace emissaries, है ना. In the last you write, it is not true. Final conclusion you write, it is not true that electoral politics does not reward the upright and moral. It is not true that electoral politics does not reward the upright and the moral person. है ना. Give the example of Dr. Rajendra Prasad. It is not true that electoral politics does not reward the upright and the moral person. You give example. For instance, or for example, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, है ना, known for working extensively for earthquake relief. In bracket you write 1934, जब ये महल्ला बना था. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, known for working extensively for earthquake relief 1934, जो इस महल्ले में हो, ये महल्ला उसी समय बना था, ठीक है. Went on to become the first president of India, है ना. LBS, Lal Bahadur Shastri, who resigned as railway minister for a train accident. Lal Bahadur Shastri resigned as railway minister for train accident. In bracket you write moral responsibility. Went on to become whom? What? Prime Minister. And Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was rewarded in electoral politics. Was rewarded in electoral politics by being re-elected as the Prime Minister. By being re-elected as the Prime Minister. Is this clear? So this is how ethics and politics are possible, yes or no? It is possible. You will take this position, you will give 2-3 examples. You can add as many examples as you want. All right. When I said 1934, so and I said there is Mahalle ki, what happened in 1934? Yes, there was an earthquake in Bihar. This is of significance to you. How? This is also be in your Gandhi Tagore debate. So an earthquake happened in Bihar. So this place Pusa was destroyed. So therefore, then we move the Pusa. है ना? So this agricultural university at Pusa was shifted to. What is your address right now? Where are you sitting? 36, Pusa Road. And just 500 meters or 300 meters from here is you have the agriculture university, which is the seat of green revolution of this country. You are sitting in a historical place that has changed the fate of this country, that has ensured that 140 crore people are being fed, thanks to some little experiments conducted within 500 meters of the place that you're sitting in. So feel proud about it. Now, when this earthquake came, so they shifted the agriculture university from Pusa in Bihar to Pusa in Rahindar Nagar, Karol Bagh area, where you're sitting right now. So that was when Gandhi had famously said this earthquake has been a punishment given by God to Bihar people because there is caste discrimination and exploitation of the Dalits. इस पर भी टैगोर ने क्वेश्चन किया था, चिट्ठी लिखी थी उनको कि these views of yours are very unscientific and dogmatic. And he says that whole Congress and country is following you, so either you prove it or you don't say such things. So when you get a question, you always write that Gandhi's idealism and romanticism was in sharp contrast to the scientific spirit of Tagore. Tagore कहते थे scientific बात करिए, ऐसे कैसे कि दलित के कारण भगवान ने ऊपर से भूकंप लेकर आ गए. All right. So that is all for today, I think. Anything that I'm missing? Any promises that have been not kept? So we'll connect again on, not tomorrow, when next class? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, yes. So Wednesday, we'll meet again. Whatever notes are being given, please read them 3, 4, 5 times. 3, 4, 5 बार उसको पढ़िए. It will get inside your head. Then no matter what the question comes, you will be able to use those ideas to answer it. But if you read it once, it will not work out. You have to read, understand. Also see, there is something known as content alignment, by which I mean to say is that your words have to be chosen such to align to the demand of the question. You know the topics, but question can be framed in any manner. All right? Chalo. Thank you, class.